Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Poppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Anything's possible.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Kicking It with Kruse. I am your host, as always, Ben Kruse, and we got a lot to get into on our show for tonight. Obviously, we had a show this past Tuesday, pretty much just all football related, but planning to obviously get some more content to you guys tonight. Probably go for about an hour and a half, probably 2 hours max, as we're going to go through the breaking news essentially with my baseball team that was massive today. Obviously the team reports, if I get some of my co-hosts on a little bit later. If not, I'll just obviously just keep going through it. But I do believe I will have some people later on tonight, so I'll make sure to do that. And then we'll obviously do our my week 1 reactions from the NFL. Of course, my week 2 game picks. There already was a game that just concluded to kick off week 2, the Eagles and the Vikings. So I'll get my overall reactions on that. I didn't get the chance to see all of it, but I got to see the end of it. And then college football. They are officially now in full swing. They're going into week 3. I'll get into some of the stuff of the college football season as well, if I get the chance to as well for that. But before we get started, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, whatever stuff possible. You know, that Kicking with Kruse, that ticker down there. Make sure to just like and follow everything. Make sure to follow our IM6, MI6 network, all that fun stuff. Make sure to share it, on Facebook or on Twitter, anywhere. And make sure to give this a listen. I'd really appreciate it. And, to give us as much content I could give to you guys possible. Love to obviously hear from you guys outside of obviously my voice just talking the whole entire time. Okay, so we'll kind of start quickly with the breaking news that happened. So we'll kind of go into the football segment here. As it looks like we have somebody coming on here for my show tonight, and that's my co-host as usual, James Gonzalez. James, I haven't gotten the chance to really see you this week, my friend, but it's glad to have you back on, and obviously good to have a show for tonight. And so how are you doing?
Yeah, I was waiting to get your notification, and I've been wanting to talk about something lately because all it's just been is just work, and we had a really okay Thursday night football game. Some surprises happened, and then some familiarity happened, and then Minnesota tried to come back, but I'm pretty sure we'll get to all that for the Thursday night game. It was interesting tonight.
Yeah, I was doing my sport pod with my other network during a lot of that game. So I didn't get the chance to watch a lot of the first half, but I got the chance to watch a lot of the second half. And we'll get the chance to talk about that specifically. But James, some big breaking news as we transit over to baseball to start off as usual. The Boston Red Sox made an absolute massive change in their front office today. The Boston Red Sox have officially relieved the duties of Chief Executive Baseball Operations, Chaim Bloom, after, I believe, 4 seasons with the ball club. I was at work today, James, and I said, essentially, I was on my phone essentially to take a look at the time, which I'll occasionally do in there. And I got a notification from one of my buddies, and he said, wow, and just big caps. And it was just, I was going to take a look, maybe it was a Red Sox roster type of thing. And then I look again, it said, Red Sox fired Chaim Bloom. And I just want to make sure, it wasn't like a parody, type of Twitter type of account where people try to make some stuff up. But no, it was from a really well reporter, Chris Cotillo from the Red Sox beat. And it just pretty much went everywhere. And so Yeah, I mean, that was obviously in terms of our team reports. That's the biggest kind of. I'll start with the Red Sox. Is Chaim Bloom has officially been fired after I believe 4 or 5 straight seasons, and obviously I'll get to your reactions in a little bit, James, too. But in terms of my overall reaction, in terms of the overall tenure of this overall person that ran my ball club, is I gotta say I understand the move, but I'm shocked in terms of the timing. The obviously the season's almost over. I thought personally they might have wanted to give him one more season with Alex Cora, who plans to believe, by the way, be with the ball club next year under contract, and obviously kind of run it out for at least one more year, and then maybe make a decision from there. But I think one thing was a massive, thing to see specifically. That was eye-opening to ownership. I don't know if you got the chance to see that the Red Sox and Yankees played a series this week. There were tickets as low as $5 at Fenway Park. Yeah, you heard that right. There was tickets as low as $5 for a Yankees Red Sox series at Fenway Park, and essentially, half the ballpark. They had 2 doubleheaders this week because obviously some rain. So they had a doubleheader, I believe, on Tuesday, and they had a doubleheader today. And the first game obviously was a makeup game on Tuesday. Nobody was there. Half the people showed up. They played the Double A, like the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Rail Riders, essentially with the Yankees. Like half their pitching staff, half our guys are the young kids. And I think that ownership kind of looked at this as a whole, and I guess it just took them this whole time and be like, enough's enough. And I think personally, and Chaim Bloom's tenure with the Red Sox, James, he only got the Red Sox to the playoffs once. And essentially every other time it was either last place or like second to last. For a city like Boston, that is not acceptable at all. I understand the good things. I'll say the good things first and the bad things, because it wasn't all bad from Chaim. The good things about Chaim Bloom is he was able to evaluate talent that was young, really good young talent. And he went and brought this Red Sox farm system from one of the worst in baseball from 2018 after Dave Dombrowski actually got us that range specifically, but then he unloaded for the farm and, he won a ring out of it, but he unloaded essentially, and we had to kind of go build from ground up to the top. He was able to get us to the top 5 or top 10 now in our farm system. So we have a really good farm system, and which was a weakness in the past and not. What he wasn't doing, though, specifically, was he wasn't evaluating the teams that were year by year, and he was trying to bring the motto from Tampa Bay, in which he was an executive before, and try to bring that to Boston. It's really hard to bring a small market motto over to a big market in Boston. It's just really hard. It's just, I think he tried, and I appreciate that, but after 4 to 5 seasons, if you essentially just, you're just not doing it consistently, and this Red Sox team deserves better, right? And I think that a lot of fans were, and Boston sports specifically. I mean, I'm a Sox fan, at heart, so I'll watch every single season. But a lot of just kind of casual Red Sox fans, they looked at today's news and they're like, "Wow, maybe I'll go back and watching this team again," because I think, and I'll say this about the Sox team specifically, is they might start to spend a little bit more, right? Because Chaim Bloom essentially was a guy that was made to not spend a lot and kind of just hopefully he can kind of kick some guys and maybe work some things out, like small deals. I will say Masataka Yoshida, he extended Rafael Devers, but it took like with the Winter Classic, fans outside of Fenway to like go into John Henry's ear and say, "Listen, you got to pay Devers, or else there's probably gonna be like riots out there in Boston." I mean, Xander Bogaerts left. You traded away Mookie Betts for essentially Alex Verdugo, who probably is going to be moved on this offseason. Jeter Downs essentially is not even playing right now, and then you have Connor Juan, who's a very serviceable starting catcher. But essentially, for the NL MVP, you did that. I mean, it's going to go down as one of the worst trades possible, I think, for the Red Sox to trade away Mookie Betts. As much as Mookie essentially asked for a lot, that's just a move you just don't make. And then they moved on from Christian Vasquez. They moved on from Benintendi. They moved on from Eovaldi. They essentially got 2018 core, James. Essentially, I think there's maybe like 1 or 2 guys left that are like still there. Chris Sale and someone else, right? Rafael Devers. He was in 2018 as well. So It was a big day for us. With the terms of the team itself, they're not going anywhere. They're the same record as the Yankees. It sucks to see, but I'm glad to see the young kids play. At this point in time, what do you have to lose? They're playing Zidane Rafaela, who's one of the top prospects from AAA. He's gotten a chance to play a lot. He's gotten a couple homers. Willie Abreu's been really shining. He was in the Christian Vasquez deal. He's been playing a lot as of late. Obviously, Devers, Verdugo, Story obviously has been really struggling offensively, but his defense has been really good at short. And then pitching wise, specifically guys like Tanner Houck pitched today. He pitched all right. Chris Sale, obviously, I don't know specifically what's going to happen next year with Chris Sale. I think that he's a number 3 or 4 at best at this point in time. So the Red Sox essentially have to be aggressive this offseason. And Sam Kennedy today said that the Red Sox, essentially, their goal is to win championships year in, year out. That's what ownership has been doing under Heimblum for a while. So hopefully things can change there. But the Red Sox are on 500. I expect them, I said between 85, low 80s to 85 wins. We'll see specifically where that ends up. But they're right. They're going to finish either between 4th and 5th, and last in the AL East. I'll go to you, James, in terms of your team report really quick. But I wanted to really quickly get your overall thoughts in terms of the Chaim Bloom move from a non-Red Sox perspective.
Well, what I remember in the offseason, I do remember the Devers panic because it's like, hey, you're Boston. You should be able to keep him. You lost Bogarts. Keep Devers or else it's a total tear down. It's a total, makeover, a restart. And that's where it felt like where, again, coming from a non-Red Sox fan was like, okay, they're putting in these veterans and they're just trying to make something for this year. They're not really going for it. That's what it seemed like for this season for the Red Sox, the outside perspective. So it never seemed like they were going for it this year anyway. And maybe this was the draw for Kennedy, the president, happens to be President Kennedy. He mentioned it's going to take a while for a candidate to be chosen too. And usually that's not the case. And you mentioned this is very odd timing for a change to happen like this. Usually you do it in the off season, but maybe they figured, okay, there was no moves really made at the deadline. There was no, panicking with the waiver wild deals. There was nothing like that. And then the team started to fall kind of out of the race and out of the wild card race. So it was, I guess, all these things. And, it's big operations like Kennedy mentioned. I know with Bloom's run, it started with Boston with trading Mookie Betts away. Yeah. I know that was a tough thing for Boston to swallow. And you've seen what he's doing now, where he's league leaders in all the offensive categories. He's playing multiple positions for Los Angeles. He's just amazing out there, and he's shining out there when he was yours, and that hurts, especially the LA-Boston thing from Lakers Celtics. You don't want to see anything LA Bloom, and that has happened. I feel like a change had to be made in order to being the Red Sox and Boston franchise that you used to know, where it's like, okay, you're going to be better. You're going to be in the thick of things like you always were. And it just felt like this year they kind of patched things up. There wasn't real moves to actually make the Red Sox a real contender. Like they spent, but very cautiously. And with the Red Sox, that's not a thing to do. You have to compete with your division. The Yankees, you have to compete with them. So it's going to be interesting whoever they bring back because you have to have that model now where, okay, you tried the discount way with, Tampa Bay and the Rays thinking. Now you probably have to go back to gain the guys who not only get on base, but you're going to have to pay more for them. And then you have to ramp up your rotation a little better, get some bullpen pieces. And it sounds like everybody should do this. but there's different methods. And with Boston, you have to go for the big names. There's no doubt about it on the East Coast. So that, from an outsider's point, that's what I saw about this news today that broke in the chat. I was like, oh, Ben's probably going to be all over that. And maybe it's a move that needed to be done. And in order to go upwards, something my team obviously doesn't know about. Let me get to the Angels. And they did this week. They did go to Seattle. They did win their first game 8-5, but then they were shut out 8-0 Tuesday, and then Wednesday they lost a heartbreaker 3-2. That didn't matter. They split with Cleveland before that, and then got swept by the Orioles and the A's. So that recapped the month of September so far. I'm just waiting for October 1st. I want this to be over. I want before we get to all of that, I guess. The Angels now 68-79. They will face the Tigers, who are 67-79 themselves on the weekend here. Nobody going to show up for that. Ohtani's not playing. Miguel Cabrera is there, but I don't think people are going to come. Mike Trout isn't playing. Friday night lights with the high school football, Saturday college football, Sunday NFL football. Nobody's coming to the Big A for that. 15 games out of first place and then 13 and a half out of the wild card. There's no damn chance at all, of course. They are one game away from elimination. That's instead of the magic number, it's the misery number that I like to say. So it's really bad here because one of the best players out there right now, I guess, is Brett Phillips, and he just got called back up for the outfield position. Yeah. He actually has been hitting a couple homers lately, which has been odd to see because you expect others to be doing that. And Grichuk has been kind of hot as well, and you figure someone would have got him off waivers, but he was the only one somehow that nobody wanted. I don't know why. So it's no Trout, no Ohtani, no reason to watch too much. I actually have somebody that wants me to go to pick up a bobblehead tomorrow, but I'm like, I don't even want to get. I'll see if one of the season ticket holders can get an extra one or something else on eBay or something. I'm not going nowhere near the stadium if I don't have to. Then the future, they have Monday off, and then they go to St. Petersburg to face the Rays, and then the Twins in Minnesota, and then they finish out the month with a 6-game homestand against Texas, which that's going to be a new series, and then the A's. So they could play spoiler to Texas in a way, somewhat with the Rays of not being in first place, but it's the same thing. And these kids are coming up now, and then some of the kids are getting set back down, clearly not ready for the major leagues. One player out here, Jordan Adams. He doesn't use two hands when he catches an outfield and a batted ball, and that pisses me off because he'll go one hand and just it will drop off his glove or something. There's these fundamental mistakes that are happening that are coming up from AAA. They're better in single A and double A. That shows you something. If your AAA players aren't as good as your double A and single A, something's wrong. I think the GM was going to stay, Perry Manassian. They'll probably give him one more year. It'll be interesting who the manager will be. It won't be Phil Nevin. Arnie Moreno won't sell. Again, there's no direction. As I started this off, there's no direction of the Angels right now. It's literally who's ever healthy. Luis Rengifo, remember, I think on the first game with Cleveland last week, he was warming up in the on-deck circle, and he tore something in his shoulder, and he's on the 60-day IL. He was their hottest hitter, Luis Rengifo. There's just a lot of players injured, but it wasn't going to matter anyway. The pitching, the rotation is really bad Patrick Sandoval coming off the WBC from Mexico. He sucks now. Detmer sucks now. All these promising starters from last year who showed some glimpses are just not coming through. Tyler Anderson has been an awful free agent signing. It seems like whenever the Angels do get runs, he gives them right back. And you can't win like that. Otani's probably leaving. There was news earlier this week that went everywhere, of course, about if Mike Trout wants a trade, he can explore it. The Angels have given the say-so. So not only can the Angels lose Shohei in free agency, but they could trade Mike Trout away and probably not get as much as you would think back. 4 years ago, you're getting at least 5 or 6 players back. Now, with Mike Trout, you're probably getting 3 to 4 players, and a lot of them, probably half of them aren't ready. So, I don't even know. And then Anthony Rendon doesn't want to play, even though with all the criticism he's been getting nationally, they say he's working out. And I haven't seen anything, but I think he was pressured into like, okay, at least show some effort before the season is over. So it's a big mess here with the Angels. It's so bad.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see specifically. I mean, in terms of our Red Sox, before we get into some of the standings here with baseball, before I think Isaiah's coming on in a little bit, but the Red Sox had to finish off their season. They actually have quite a bit of really good teams that they can play spoiler off of. They go to Toronto for 3 this weekend, which Texas and Toronto had a really big week this series this week, and Texas swept them. So Toronto's really slumping right now. They're still only 1.5 games out, I believe, of that third wild card spot. So for the Red Sox specifically, they could really either help Toronto kind of get back into one of the third spots, or they can even bring them down in the wild card race. Then they go to Texas. So they got Toronto, and then they go to Texas. And you think maybe if the Red Sox were kind of, I don't know, in it for, I guess you could say, for a little bit, those 2 series have been absolutely massive, but they're not. So, but it will be really interesting to see how they do against Texas. I think really Toronto and Texas, even though they're kind of in it, the Red Sox can be able to win some games on that road trip. And then they go home to finish off their last homestand of the season, which I might be in attendance for just because, I can kind of say, why not? Tickets will be cheap. I could go about 2.5 hours and go to a cheap Red Sox game if I went from the last one. But they got the White Sox for a weekend series, and then they have the Rays for 2 before they go to Baltimore. So essentially, outside of the White Sox, we're absolutely horrible. They have Toronto, Texas, Tampa Bay, and Baltimore. Essentially, all those teams that are pretty much in the American League hunts right now. So theoretically, just for the Red Sox, they are 1 game over 500. Hopefully, they could at least be, at least over 500 to finish off the year, especially after now Heim is gone. So I'll be curious to kind of see specifically how the players felt about Heim leaving. I guess it really, according to Core, it really surprised him when it pretty much happened. So I think, it's just kind of something where you just got to see where things kind of finish off from here. And obviously with the Heims firing, they're kind of getting prepared for next season already, which I think is something that they kind of had to make a move with. But we also have our second co-host, as usual. Isaiah Leon is now here on the program. Isaiah, we obviously missed you yesterday on Extra Point with me and Lower, but we were able to, take charge with that. Had a really good show. Also, earlier this evening, I had a show with my other network, which went really well. Isaiah, I was talking to James earlier. Obviously, we're kind of starting off with baseball because you sent me the message, which I was asking for so long. I actually saw it on my phone before you sent me it, but I was so happy when you showed me it. Isaiah, how are you doing tonight? And obviously, Isaiah, we're going to get through a lot of stuff tonight, a lot more than we did on Tuesday. And obviously, with having James here too, we'll go through some of the week 1 stuff as well as week 2 game picks. How are you doing tonight, Isaiah?
What's up, fellas? I'm doing great. I got to, watch the first Thursday night football game of the year in which the Vikings lost again, which is not a big surprise whatsoever. But And I mean, yeah, I mean that whole Keim Bloom news. I actually funny story about that. I actually was getting off work. This was like 10 in the morning, California time, and I passed one of the bars at the airport, and I was passing one of the bars, and they had on MLB Network on one of their TVs, and I guess on the other TV they had ESPN First Take, a rerun of it. So I was watching First Take a little bit, and then all of a sudden I see the ticker on the MLB Network page or the screen flash breaking news, and I was like, "What could the breaking news be?" And I thought it was like some type of roster move, promotion, or whatever. But then all of a sudden I see breaking news: Red Sox fire Keim Bloom, and my immediate thought was to you, Ben, because I knew how much you wanted it, and how much you wanted that to happen. I was honestly kind of shocked that you didn't send me that message first, because I was
I
like,
know. I was at work, so I was just
yeah.
I saw it first from you. I'm like, oh my god! But I was ready to get off work and start partying and stuff when I saw it. I was like, I was so excited.
Yeah, that was my first reaction. I just thought of you and thought how happy you would be, because you've been wanting him gone for a while now. So yeah, I mean that great news for you. Christmas definitely came early for you, but also, I mean, it's a great day because the team that I put some money on to win the World Series, they actually won their sixth straight game today, and they actually went into Toronto, which is not an easy place to play, and they swept the Blue Jays. So I think the Rangers have shown that they're going to be all right. But great day in sports, man, and I'm glad we're going to be diving into some NFL stuff and instead of some soccer stuff tonight.
All right, Isaiah. In terms of your team reports, obviously, the A's are at this point in time are they've been gone for basically from the beginning of the season, but they still are only 4 wins away from getting 50 wins. So you can kind of say that as a way. You've got the Padres this weekend. You got Seattle, Detroit, Minnesota, and then you got James's Angels to finish off the 2023 season. So in terms of when you play James's Angels, typically it's like a jumping point for when you play another team. Well, for both teams, they'll be going the offseason, so it really won't mean much. But anything that's really kind of stood out to you I mean, I know that the A's went to Houston, they won that series, and that's obviously big. For some odd reason, the A's played the Astros really well. Which, I mean, Astro fans, I was seeing some Astro fans, I think on Twitter the other day, they're just like, thankfully the A's aren't a playoff team because we always struggle with them for some odd reason. And then your Phillies just had a massive series against the Braves this week. Congratulations, by the way, to the Atlanta Braves. They are the first team to clinch the MLB playoffs. They have also clinched the NL East, in which I predicted before this season. So my prediction was right about that. They're just absolutely loaded. So Isaiah, just go quickly into your team reports before we get into some other MLB news.
Yeah, my team reports. Let's start with the A's. I mean, they went into Houston. They won 2 out of 3, which was very surprising. I thought that they'd be even lucky to take one game, but they went into Houston and they took 2 games. And they played well. I mean, it was a very close series. The Astros won the game yesterday to avoid the sweep, but it was only 6-2, which is not too bad. But I mean, you're starting to see the emergence of a lot of these A's youngsters. Zach Geloff keep doing his thing. Guys like Ryan Noda stepping up to the plate and just launching home run after home run after home run. Shea Langoliers kind of breaking out after struggling for most of the year. He hit his 18th and his 19th home run in this series. And then, guys like Lawrence Butler, Esteury Ruiz just continuing to develop and shine. Nick Allen even had he had 4 hits in the 3 games in the series, which is very impressive. And now his batting average is at a respectable 215, which, you know what, I'll take it, because from what it was throughout the entire course of the season, when it was sitting at like 186 or 190, like the fact that he's batting 215, I mean, that's a freaking miracle in of itself. So yeah, he definitely deserves another shot at being a major leaguer next year. Even though I'm still kind of miffed that the A's were reluctant to trade him for Max Scherzer, which makes no sense whatsoever if you think about it. But kidding aside, though, like, it was a great series. The youngsters continuing to do their thing and just have fun and, you know, develop and shine. And, Ben and James, the pitching staff, I've got on them the entire year, right? About how they suck, how nobody's going to want to trade for our pitchers because all of our pitchers have ERAs like 4 point whatever or higher. But, I got to give credit to the A's pitching coaches because their pitchers have been pitching a lot better during the second half of the season. I mean, in this series against a vaunted Astros team, they only gave up 8 runs in 3 games. Like, that's really, really good. The Texas Rangers in a 3-game set against the Astros a couple of weeks ago gave up 50 runs. 50 in a 3-game set. So the A's, for them to go into Houston and only give up 8 runs in 3 games, like, I will take it, and I will gladly take it. The bullpen has been so much better as of late. It seems like they found the back end of the bullpen with Trevor May, whose ERA was 9.87 at one point in April and May. And he gave up like 27 runs, I believe. Or no, he gave up, I think 27 runs in his first 5 innings, and it was like really, really bad. But he has really settled down, and his ERA has gone from 9.82 to now 3.63. So it's been massive improvement from him. I expect him to get a lot of suitors this offseason. He's got 20 saves for the A's as their closer. He's done a fabulous job. Danny Jimenez being the 8th inning guy, he's done a really good job as the 8th inning guy, really settling the back end of the bullpen down. And then you look at the other guys, Ken Waldichuk, it seems like he's found something. He's been pitching way better as of late. I think in his last 3 outings, he's only given up a combined 3 runs, which is very, very good. JP Sears continues to have good outings. He pitched the second game against Houston, and he gave up only 2 runs and 5 hits and 6 innings of work, struck out 3. Yeah, he looks like one of the promising young starting pitchers for the A's that they can build around. But yeah, I mean, it's just a great series win for the A's. Going into Houston, tough place to play, winning 2 out of 3. I'll gladly take it. And now they have the underwhelming Padres coming into town for a 3-game set starting tomorrow night. And then they play the Mariners for a 3-game set in Oakland. And then they have the Tigers for a 4-game set. So, I mean, the A's have like a nice 10-game homestand. I think that's the final homestand of the year. Yeah, final homestand of the year before they finish up with Minnesota and James's Angels, end the year. So I definitely think they can definitely get 50 wins. And to be honest, right now the A's are sitting at, I'm trying to look at it. There are 46 and 100. Could the A's crack 60?
How many more games left?
No.
There's let's see. They have
1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see. Hold on. Give me just a quick sec, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 games. 14 wins, 16 now.
No.
But they could definitely get 50. They only need 4 wins to get 50 wins. Yeah.
Hey,
Dude, I said they were going to have 61 wins. I was totally wrong.
You predicted that?
Yeah, I don't know. I felt bad for them.
Hey, we were sitting at 30. Like I didn't even think we were gonna get to 30 wins. Like especially how we started. Like we started like 3-27 or whatever. It
You know,
was.
Isaiah, though, that's great that your bullpen, especially May, dropped his ERA all the way down to that. It's like the opposite of what the Angels aren't doing, basically. That's ridiculous that a team like that can do what you're doing and the Angels can't do it. That's ridiculous.
James, the only problem though is that I wish Trevor May did this before the trade deadline because I think the A's would have gotten a good haul for Trevor May or gotten a couple solid prospects back. But now you're most likely going to lose him for nothing in free agency because, like he was our big free agent acquisition. We paid $7 million for him in a 1-year contract. Yeah, which you never see Oakland spend that type of money. So we gave him $7 million, and I mean he's been worth it, but I think he's probably gonna. He could get 8. I could see him getting the same amount of money, or even like a $1 million raise. But I have a feeling that he's probably gonna leave at the end of this season because a lot of people or teams need bullpen help. So it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck to see him leave. But I hope that he lands on a contender. But as far as the Phillies are concerned, they lost 3 out of 4 to the Atlanta Braves. They saw the Braves plant their Braves flag at the middle of Citizens Bank Park and celebrate. And, well, they also even saw their manager, Rob Thompson, look like an absolute fool with his comments about, Ronald Acuna and, him celebrating home runs and stuff like that. I mean, the Phillies, this is the problem with the Phillies. They're in their tough portion of their schedule right now, and you're just seeing it where they lose 2 out of 3 to the Marlins at home, and then they lost 3 out of 4 to the Braves, and now they play the Cardinals, who have been a lot better as of late, and then they play the Braves for 3, and then the Mets for 4. So I'm kind of concerned about the Phillies, to be honest. Like I think they're going to make the playoffs, but I'm concerned that they might lose ground in the wild card, and like they might lose that home field advantage against the Chicago Cubs, whom they would play right now. You need that home field advantage because, like, imagine October. You have to go to Wrigley Field. That place is going to be rocking. Guys know how crazy Cub fans can be. That is going to be a tough place to play. And, if the Phillies went into Chicago, especially with the wind how the wind blows out, I think in right center field, with how the pitching staff has been kind of inconsistent all season long. I just think that I could see the Phillies struggling, and that would be a matchup that I really don't want to see against the upstart, young up-and-coming Chicago Cubs. So I am kind of worried a little bit about the Phillies. Their starting rotation still hasn't figured it out. The bats have figured it out, but the bullpen has struggled as of late. The pitching has not been good. Michael Lorenzen might be going to the bullpen from what I'm hearing, which, it kind of does suck to see because we need a fifth starter, and you're kind of balancing Lorenzen and Christopher Sanchez, which those two are not really that great of options. So I really wish Dombrowski would have gotten a legit fit starter instead of, balancing those two, because you're going to need it down the stretch. You can't tire your starters out, and you're already seeing it because, every fifth day we're either going bullpen game or we're getting short outings from Lorenzen or Christopher Sanchez, and, it's just taxing the bullpen, and that's why the bullpen has really struggled. So I'm concerned about the Phillies. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when they go to Busch Stadium starting tomorrow for a 3-game set against the Cardinals, and then they have a 3-game set at Truist Park against the Braves. So big week coming up for the Phils.
Definitely so. Well, we're going to be looking quickly at some of the playoff picture as of right now before we get into the NFL stuff and college stuff. Next week, Isaiah, you're going to like what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some managers for baseball in the hot seat coming into the off season. So James, obviously we'll talk about that. Obviously, Chaim Bloom is the first of many executives potentially that are going to be on the hot seat. So we were able to celebrate that. And I told James this about this, Isaiah. All of Chaim was not all bad. I will give him credit specifically for essentially with David Dombrowski, your guy right now for the Phillies, where 2018, we won the World Series, but essentially had a massive mess, and we had to be able to clean up that mess. And he was able to clean the mess in terms of bringing one of the worst farm systems in baseball in the Red Sox to one of the best in baseball. So that was one of the biggest things he did. What he didn't do well was he wasn't able to – he was thinking he was able to pretty much bring the Tampa Bay motto from the Tampa Bay Rays and bring it to a bigger market type team. And you just can't do that. You can't be able to bring a small market type mindset over to a big market type team and expect results. And if you're going to expect results, you're going to have to be able to hit the results. And especially in a really, good and tight division like the AL East consistently now, when teams are getting better and better, it's just really hard to be able to sustain it. And you saw, their pitching was a massive weakness. And last year, they had a couple of guys specifically where they have promise, but you need really two frontline starters. And they just really must have not trusted that Heim was going to make, help out ownership to be able to pounce and to expect them to be more aggressive year by year, so they could be able to get to the end goal they want to be, and that's to be consistently October and to try to win a World Series again. So that was one of the biggest things about I would say the decision to fire Heim today. Let's look at kind of this weekend. The Red Sox obviously have the Blue Jays. The Red Sox could be playing spoilers for that because the Blue Jays are about 1.5 games back of the third wild card spot. A couple of really big-time series to watch out for, though. The Braves Marlins. The Marlins right now currently in the National League are right pretty much a half game back of the third wild card spot, which is still really up for grabs right now. I was actually looking at the schedule remains for a lot of those teams as Isaiah was talking. Braves Orioles. That's essentially probably, that's early,
Yes.
like an early playoff vibe already for October. The Rays took, I believe, the game tonight, but it's going to be back and forth. That's essentially the AL East. Pretty much whoever wins that series, I'd say, wins probably the division. So that's obviously great to watch. Of course, they have a Friday night game for Rays Orioles on Apple TV. I won't be able to watch because I'll be at the Mets game with a friend of mine. But, that'll obviously be curious to see. Cubs Arizona, that's going to be massive. That's going to be a series. That's an MLB Network at 9:40 to watch. The Cubs currently right now are in the second wild card spot. The Diamondbacks are they're 0 games out of that third wild card spot, but probably points percentage right now, the Giants are currently in that third slot as of right now. So that's obviously massive. The Diamondbacks have been really slumping as of late, so we'll see specifically how they do. And then Dodgers Mariners is the last one to watch out for. The Dodgers, obviously, they just played a series against the Padres. They're going on the road. And the Mariners right now are still in that third wild card spot. I do want to get into, speakingly, big news that happened. That's going to be a massive blow for one of the AL wildcard teams. And this is a team that Isaiah's been really heavily in on, and that's the Texas Rangers. They had a massive blow as Max Scherzer is currently going to miss the remainder of the season as he was warming up in his last start against Toronto. And there apparently gets reported in terms of forearm tightness or something in terms of, his pitching. Even against the start against Houston, he said that something really wasn't right, but he was still kind of be able to manage that overall forearm tightness or whatever he kind of was going through, or maybe like dead arm, whatever. In terms of the AL and NL wildcard spot, guys, do you guys personally feel that these three teams that are going to be in the AL and NL wildcard are going to be set for the remainder of the season? I know, obviously, for me specifically, if I look at it right now, the Rays are probably going to they're going to be in that top wildcard spot, Texas, and then Seattle. I think really Toronto has really been sliding. I wouldn't be shocked if they find a way to get in. I got to see specifically that Seattle's remainder of their schedule, but for the Texas Rangers to go into Toronto and win that series to sweep actually was a massive statement. So Seattle has Texas actually twice to finish off the season. They have two separate series with them. They go to Texas on the 22nd and the 24th, and then they have Texas to finish off the remainder of the season. So they have, in between that, they play against the Astros. So Seattle has a massively tough finish to their to their schedule. And if you look at Toronto's to finish off their schedule, they play us and the Red Sox, and they go to New York, then they go to Tampa, then they play the Yankees, and they finish off against the Rays. So it's going to be so tight because both teams are kind of like up and down specifically. Really, it's the Rays that are going to get that number one spot on that wild card. But in terms of the NL wild card, it's going to be a lot tougher. I obviously have the Phillies obviously there. The Cubs are going to be there. So it's really that third spot. It's either going to be between the Marlins, the Reds, the D-backs, and the Giants. And I was looking at all those teams when I was there, was talking, and all those teams specifically are very up and down in terms of the team they play. Some teams are really easy. Some teams are, the Cubs and D-backs are obviously have a massive series this weekend. But a lot of the games that a lot of these teams are playing that are trying to vie for that third spot, they're not really playing each other. So it's really hard to tell, kind of in terms of what happens. So I'll go to you first, Isaiah. Do you think specifically the three teams in the AL wildcard and the three teams in the NL wildcard will be the representatives at the season end today will be the same ones by season's end?
I think the last wildcard spot in the AL is going to come down to Seattle and Toronto. I think that Texas, they sent a massive message to the entire AL that, hey, we might have slumped and we might have collapsed for a good portion of August and September, but hey, man, you can't kind of count us out. And, we're back, and we're back in true form. And when I look at the Rangers, what was really impressive about their sweep was that every facet of the game played well. Starting pitching was dominant. The bullpen, actually showed up, and they were actually very good, surprisingly. And a guy that I think you guys are very familiar with him, but you guys don't expect him to be very good, especially at this stage of his career, is Ian Kennedy. And he came into that series, and he pitched 2 games, and he had 2 shutout innings after coming back from the minor leagues. And when he first came into the game, I was like, I didn't even realize Ian Kennedy was still in the big leagues. I thought he retired. So for him to come back to the big leagues and for him to pitch very well, that's an encouraging sign. And what was even crazier about that was during the games that he pitched, this guy was throwing 97. Like, this guy is a 38-year-old, and he's throwing 97 with wicked off-speed stuff. So if he can get it right, I think he could definitely be a very impactful player for the Rangers moving forward in that bullpen. In terms of, I just think the Rangers they're going to be in the mid, or they're going to be up there, or they're going to be in the wild card. The Rays definitely, because they're 7 games up on the Rangers right now for the first wild card, so they're definitely going to be in it. It'll take like a massive, Atlanta Braves 2011 collapse to really not have them be in the playoffs, which I don't see happening. So it's going to come down to Seattle and the Blue Jays. And Ben and James, I don't know about the Blue Jays. I feel like the Blue Jays are just going in the wrong direction at the worst possible time. Like, they're not hitting. The pitching staff sucks. The bullpen is just giving up run after run after run. John Schneider, the manager, is getting booed out there every time he comes out to take a pitcher out. There's been talks that he may be one and done in Toronto, and he may be on the hot seat. So it just feels like for the Blue Jays, like they remind me of last year's Brewers, where they were a really good team. They started off hot, and then they just went down at the worst possible time. And I just think, it's going to come down to schedule, obviously, but the Blue Jays are just trending down. And if you look at their schedule coming up, and I think, Ben, you read off their schedule, but it's very, very tough. You talk about Seattle's schedule being tough. Well, the Blue Jays' schedule are tough. Like, they play the Red Sox for a 3-game set starting tomorrow in Toronto, and then 3-game set in Toronto. And then they play the Yankees for a 3-game set in New York, which is a very tough place to play. Then they play the Rays for a 3-game series at the Trop, and then they play the Yankees for a 3-game series in Toronto, and then they close the season against the Rays in Toronto. That's a tough schedule. Like, I don't care if you're playing in Toronto. Like, that's a very, very tough schedule going up against, Red Sox, Yankees, Rays, then
All
Yankees, then
division.
Rays again. Like, that is a very tough schedule. And I think that for the Mariners, I feel like the Mariners have an easier schedule, and plus they have the lead right now on the Blue Jays right now. So I just think it's gonna, like, both teams are kind of gonna struggle a little bit because of their tough schedule. But this is a series where it's going to, I feel like, tip it in the favor of the Mariners. The Mariners have the luxury of playing the Oakland A's for a 3-game series next week, starting on Monday. So that may be the series, because if the Mariners sweep the A's or they take 2 out of 3, the Rays or the Blue Jays will be playing the Yankees at that time after playing the Red Sox. So I just think, like, it's way too tough of a schedule for the Blue Jays. Plus, there's so much turmoil going on. Texas, I think, is definitely in. The Rays are in, and I think it's going to be the Mariners. And I think the Mariners end up getting that last playoff spot, and there will be back-to-back seasons of baseball or playoff baseball in Seattle again.
And what about you, James? Do you feel like that the 3 wild card spots in the American League and the National League as it stands right now are going to be the same by season's end? I know that we talked, I believe, last week about the National League, how it's really tight, and it still is. It's probably going to be tight until the season's over. But you probably look at the American League wild cards right now. It's probably a little bit more to kind of judge. If you look at the NL wild card right now specifically, do you feel like that there's a team that you think that can overtake the other one based kind of on strength of schedule, or just kind of your overall thoughts right now in terms of how things will go from here?
American League, I definitely agree. That Toronto, there's just something missing. It's just weird all year long, and they tried the deadline but didn't work out. I think just Seattle is stronger. Texas is stronger. So I think that's going to stay the way it is in the American League wildcard. In the National League, I still think Philadelphia will keep the first spot. Chicago will keep the second. And then I'm just waiting for the Giants to finally collapse. But they just saved themselves somehow. And they don't score in the most dramatic ways. They're kind of fundamental in a way. They don't have a big bopper home run guy. So for the third spot, I'm hoping, one of those other teams get it. Arizona, Cincinnati, Miami. It's funny how those three just keep falling back and forth, especially Miami. Mm-hmm. Like 1 week they can be, or 2 weeks they can be, 4 games out, and then all of a sudden, just like this week, be a half game out. It's funny how it goes. I'm guessing San Francisco holds it, but I'm really hoping Arizona does it, or Cincinnati, but maybe they're all just too young and inexperienced. But I'll just go with San Francisco to hold that third wild card spot. Maybe they have enough. Their pitching staff is certainly better than the other 3 that are below them, so that gives them the right to get in, I guess.
Definitely so. And we'll keep tracking each week and kind of really see specifically if things a lot change. I doubt it probably will be, but I really just want to quickly go to Isaiah, as he addressed to me that he wanted to get some the High and Bloom reaction really quick, and then we're going to transit over to do our football stuff. So Isaiah, I'll let you take it over to you specifically. What do you kind of say specifically on the High and Bloom firing?
Well, first of all, Ben, Christmas came early for you and the entire Red Sox nation, so I'm very happy for y'all. Now that I think about it, when I first saw the news, I was like, wow, I can't believe Boston actually did that. But now that I think about it, I should have known better that this might have been coming, because there was a report halfway through the season when the Red Sox were struggling, they were kind of mediocre, that Alex Cora and Kyle Bloom was not getting along. And you could kind of have seen it, with Cora making comments about how he wanted the team to be aggressive at the deadline, while Bloom was saying, hey, we might be, we might stand pat, who knows. And that kind of ticked Cora off, I felt like, and he went on the radio and made some very eye-opening remarks. I just think when I look at this situation, like I think it was a power struggle between Cora and Bloom that Cora ultimately won. And I think that, you could have seen this coming because Cora is a beloved figure in Boston. Won a World Series there, played in Boston, while Bloom is kind of like the outsider, a guy that comes in from Tampa Bay, that doesn't really endure himself to Red Sox fans with the trade of Mookie Betts, and he was kind of a villain ever since that trade was made. So I'm not really shocked that it happened. I thought that one of them were going to have to be scapegoated after this year
Exactly.
because this is Boston. Like, you cannot go multiple years without a playoff appearance, and it just felt like the team was just trending in the wrong direction. With how things were going this season. So one of them was gonna have to be gone. So Bloom ultimately lost the power struggle with Cora. I thought Bloom didn't really do that bad of a job, but I think the reason why he did not work out in Boston was because this is Boston. Like, it's the same thing with New York. Like, these analytic things, like, it will never, like, it could work out. Like, Andrew Friedman has worked out in LA, obviously, but LA is different than Boston and New York, right? Like, in LA, Andrew Friedman, he got a lot of patience in LA, and plus, the fans were mad at him. The fans wanted. I mean, James probably knows this as much as I do. The fans in LA down there have wanted Dave Roberts fired like in forever. It just seems like every year it's like fire Dave Roberts, fire Dave Roberts. But like LA is definitely more easier to have patience there. But I mean, it's Boston and New York. Like, it's a pressure cooker, and you're expected to win right away. You can't be mediocre. So I think that Bloom didn't do a bad job, but the reason why he ultimately was gone was because of the bad relationship with Cora, and also because I believe fan pressure. I believe fan pressure ultimately got to the Red Sox. Him, like, the Red Sox being mediocre to bad didn't really help. And so that's why I just think that's why he's ultimately now not with Boston anymore. And Ben, I got a replacement on my mind for you and the Red
Oh
Sox.
boy. Oh boy. I'll be excited to see this.
I know that the reports have trickled in that Alex Cora might move up to the front office like Brad Stevens. They might make a change at manager, maybe put Jason Varitek as the manager. Who knows? And then there's also been reports that the Red Sox could go big game hunting with Chris Antonetti, the or the Guardians president of baseball operations. He could be a guy that would help. That would be one of the guys in the mix. David Force, the GM for the A's, could be another guy. Which would be like Billy Beane 2.0. Billy Beane had an offer from the Red Sox, but then turned it down. The guy that I think Boston should go after, and it just screams this guy, is John Daniels. Because here's why. The Boston Red Sox hired a guy who had no experience, or had experience, but not a lot of experience being in that president of baseball operations, like head of baseball operations type role in Chaim Bloom. And he was like that young analytics type of guy. And normally when one side doesn't work out, you always hire the opposite, right? You always hire the opposite of the person that you fired. So it just screams John Daniels. John Daniels is with the Rays right now as a senior baseball official. He took a year off because he wanted to get re-energized. And let's guys, John Daniels is not that bad of a baseball GM. I mean, in fact, like, you could say that he's one of the best baseball GMs that has been a GM in baseball. I mean, this guy led the Rangers to a lot of success in Arlington. He built a lot of good teams there in Arlington. He knows how to acquire talent, and he also is not afraid of giving stars the big money, which was ultimately one of Bloom's undoing in Boston, which was he was scared to give big money to superstars. And he was kind of like, oh, you know, I want to be like the Rays. I want to be conservative. Well, that's not John Daniels. John Daniels is aggressive. He, you know, wants to win. He'll do anything to try to win. And he's got that experience. And I think like for some reason, this Red Sox opening just screams John Daniels. And I think that, you know, you're going to see a lot of candidates in the mix. But with Daniels being a free agent out there, if I'm Boston, I'm taking a heavy look at him because, you know, I think that you could get one hell of an executive who in his second time running baseball operations, I think he's going to do a hell of a job, even better than his first time around, which he already had lots of success.
I 100% agree with you, Isaiah. I mean, there's a lot, obviously, kind of, you know, take like into account in terms of this hiring. One guy specifically I would love to see the Red Sox take a look at is James Click from Houston. I think that that's a guy specifically that's had a lot of success there. Cora's been with the Astros, so he probably has a little bit of a relationship there. Another other thing quickly, too, before we get into football about Chaim Bloom, Isaiah, and I told this to James. Chaim Bloom started with the Red Sox in, I believe, 2020. In 5 seasons, he only got to the playoffs once. In terms of in Boston, not acceptable. As much as he was not going to cut it at all. So essentially, I think ownership finally was kind of on their last season, especially because last year was going to be his last year pretty much anyway in terms of being able to kind of prove it. And I think they looked at it this year, and I told James this already, and he had he was like starstruck about this. The Red Sox and Yankees had a series this week at Boston. They had tickets going for low as $5. It's $5. And I know obviously both teams aren't playing for anything, but when you have Red Sox tickets cheaper than your AAA team, I think ownership looks at it and then listen, come on, guys. Really?
Well, James, I mean, I kind of feel bad for you, buddy, because, you know, there's talk out there that Perry Manassian might get fired by the Angels because your owner wants to do a clean sweep with the manager and the GM potentially being out. You know, I honestly would feel bad if, like, your Red Sox hired Perry Manassian to be the GM, and like James's Angels went with Chaim Bloom as their GM. You guys gotta do like a swap. Oh my god! Like you would have like the Angels kind of like
fun, James.
Oh, you guys would have like the Angels being like that penny pinching team after being forever spending a lot of money.
Maybe it would help us get Mike Trout from Imagine Mike Trout in Boston. How much of a storyline that would be, even though he's obviously hurt, you know, now a lot. But another star back in Boston. That would be crazy to have. Must be nice. All right, let's go to football, guys. Obviously, we did a lot of great baseball talk, and let's obviously kind of I know me and you, Isaiah, kind of talked about week 1 a little bit, so we can kind of really reflect really quick with James. James, before we kind of get into our winners and losers from week 1, guys, and then we'll get into our game picks. James, in terms of any games obviously out there, in terms of your Raiders, let's actually go to your Raiders, James, because I wanted to get to you, James. James, your Raiders were able to get the first game under their skin, and they got a win. They wanted to go to Denver. They wanted to Denver, and they got that win. I know that you're shocked, James, but that's why they play the game for a reason. But in terms of you look at it, they go to Buffalo next. So obviously enjoy that win while it lasts, especially against the Buffalo team that's going to be really pissed off. But I'll say this, James. What's your overall reactions from this game? Of course, going to Denver is always tough, and you're able to spoil Sean Payton's debut.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. Every win or the 5 or 6 they're going to have this year is going to be hard fought. There's no doubt about it. There's no easy wins this year. Never is. But I wanted to send a message to say, hey, it's not going to be all clear and bright and sunny in Denver. I know it was, but that was just the weather. Russell Wilson played well in the first quarter and whatever, but then our first half, I should say, but then second half, I was really proud of the Raider defense, getting after him, stopping the run, stopping the pass, despite all the injuries they have receiver-wise. Denver's depleted. They have a bunch of guys that are, street guys and practice guys that are receivers right now. So I was proud with the Raider defense in that sense because they're doing this without Chandler Jones too. He's not going to play this week. He may never play for the team again, which I'm fine for because he's worthless. Let's just be honest with you. I was happy with the offense. Jim Garoppolo just doing enough to get the win, not maybe overshooting passes, not overthrowing like maybe Derek Carr would. And that's just two different styles, two different quarterbacks and the way they want to win. I think Jimmy was just efficient, 20 for 26, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. There was 1 pick, but I'm willing to overlook that. Jacoby Myers, 9 receptions, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did leave with a concussion somewhere. I don't know if he'll play this week.
Right.
It'll be a big loss. Hunter Renfrow, who's really – he's been lost since last year. He'll have to step up, but I doubt he'll be good. I was wondering, though, about the Broncos. They have Williams, they have P-Line, and they still were not able to establish the run or the pass. So maybe that's going to be a problem for the team going on, which, hey, I'm fine with that, especially the next time we play them. Jacobs, I thought, was going to be lackluster, being, kind of late to the season, only 48 yards on the carry. Adams only has 66 receiving yards, but you figure the Denver defense, who's really good, would clinch on him. So I was just happy with the way that the Raiders played defense. And to win their 7th in a row against the Broncos, at least there's that. But yeah, going into this next game, week 2 in Buffalo, yeah, you mentioned, the whole situation with the Bills, and it only got worse today if you heard what happened. So there was a hot mic at the press conference of the Bills, and some lady, I think, who does PR, whatever the case is.
I heard about this, yeah.
So that only makes things worse. And I know they have dysfunction since, last playoffs, Diggs and Allen. Allen didn't look so good. The defense, even though they have Micah Hyde, they're still losing Von Miller. So they're not as good. The rushing attack was okay with James Cook, but it was really bad. And then to lose in the way they did against the Jets without Aaron Rodgers, basically. That was a wild game, and you're just hoping for a great finish, and it did happen. I'm hoping the Raiders can just stay consistent in that way. Again, the loss of Myers, that's going to be really bad, but someone else is going to have to step up. It's going to have to be a next man dictatorship with Carter coming up big, or Austin Hooper, the other rookie tight end. It's going to be interesting who can step up, if Adams can get open more, but that Bills defense is really good. So I know the line is 8.5 or something like that, which I'll probably agree with the Bills winning. But I'm hoping they come up with a shocker, and they could just keep the one thing I could hope is they keep the Bills offense off of the field, and then the Raiders have long drives and run the ball down the throats of the Bills. I want to see that run to open up the pass, and maybe they get away with a win. And then finally come home for week 3. So I'm hoping that they win somehow in Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously, hopefully Myers is going to be okay. I heard about that news specifically, and that's obviously tough to see. But yeah, obviously, Isaiah and I kind of talked about our team specifically, in terms of my Patriots. They played a really tight one. I thought specifically, when they were down 6-0, it didn't look good. It looked like it was going to be, potentially a long game. But then, the Patriots really responded in the second quarter. Mac Jones really was efficient kind of ever since that pick 6. He had 2 touchdowns in the second quarter. And then the second half, they were really within range. Defensively, they only gave up 1 offensive touchdown to the Eagles. That was short field. So that was massively impressive, especially with the way that the Eagles offense played tonight. Offensively, they were able to kind of score a lot more at will against the Vikings. So that really takes into account in terms of how impressive this Patriots defense could be. But they just, in terms of the opportunities that they got, they just didn't finish. Whether it was a turnover that the Eagles had or a couple of times inside of 20, Bill Belichick going for it on 4th and 3 when they were down 11 with, I believe, 5 minutes left. So just a couple, situations where they could have, would have, should have had. But the Patriots, ever since Tom Brady left, we've had kind of our moral victories as a lot more than used to. But I really have to say this for the first game specifically. There's a lot of positivity specifically to take out of this. And I was saying this to Laura yesterday that, obviously our game picks will come up soon, but I'm a lot more confident going into week 2 than I potentially would have been after the way that they started this game specifically in the first quarter. In terms of your Niners, Isaiah, obviously, if you want to kind of get into some of that really quick, and then we're going to get into our winners and our losers of week 1, and then it's all about week 2 predictions.
Yeah, I mean, the Niners sent a loud and clear message to the entire NFL that, hey, we're the real best team in the NFL. It ain't the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the 49ers. The Niners went into Pittsburgh against a team that a lot of people picked to win the AFC North. And a lot of people had them, being the surprise team of the season, and they went in there and they steamrolled the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenny Pickett was uncomfortable as hell all day in that pocket. The secondary for the Niners was outstanding, even though I criticized them all off season long and said that, the Niners not signing Taylor Rapp is going to be the thing that eliminates us from winning a Super Bowl this year.
Oh boy!
I think
how did he play out the first game? By the way, I didn't even know if I saw him out there.
He's the guy that missed that tackle, or one of the guys that missed that tackle that allowed the Jets cornerback to end up, or the Jets returner to end up winning making the winning touchdown. The 49ers, I mean, they look dominant both offensively, defensively, special teams. Purdy looked great. Ayuk looks like the second coming of Michael Irvin out there. You look at the
I don't know about that.
kickers with Jake Moody. That was a big concern in the preseason. Moody was missing a lot of field goals, but he made his first 3 field goals. He was 3 for 3, was also 3 for 3, I believe, in extra points as well. So just a great start by the Niners. And now they play the Rams, and the Rams don't have Cooper Kupp, but it's still going to be a tough battle because Ben, you and James, you guys both know that division games don't matter how good that other team is, how good both teams are. It's always going to be a battle no matter what. So I can't wait for Sunday, and I cannot wait to see what happens at SoFi Stadium. The one concern that I do have about the Niners is that right tackle spot. Colton McKivitz, who replaced Mike McGlinchey, I had never thought that he was good to begin with, to be honest. I thought that, I had watched him play before, and I had, when he was a rookie, I mean, this guy was getting he was getting pushed back and getting thrown to the ground every game that he played in during his rookie year. So I was like, dude, that's not good at all. That's not good at all. And after Sunday, when he gave up 3 sacks and he gave up the sack that got Brock Purdy stripped of the football, I said to myself that I thought that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch should have taken Colton McKivitz's key to the 49ers headquarters and basically banned him from going to 49ers headquarters and locked him out because, this is exactly how you're going to get your quarterbacks hurt. You can't protect your quarterbacks. Look at Joe Burrow. You can't protect Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow's constantly getting hurt. So Colton McKivitz should honestly not be allowed one yard of the 49ers headquarters. And to be honest, the 49ers should be first in line to get Leo Collins, who just got released from the Bengals in a very, very shocking move. That's very shocking because the Bengals need offensive linemen. He's got the experience in that Shanahan McVay offense that Cincinnati runs. So San Francisco needs to be in the front of the line to get him, because that's going to be a major upgrade over what we have right now at right tackle. Because if we don't get him, then, Brock Purdy's probably going to get hurt again, sadly.
All right, let's go really quick to our winners and losers from week one. We'll each probably pick one winner and one loser. I know it's obviously kind of tough, but my winner of week one, man, I'm going to go with your Niners, Isaiah. I mean, they put a massive statement out there. Pittsburgh's a really tough place to play, and they're going to be a really good team for a lot of this season. But they from the start to the game to the end of the game, defensively, offensively, special teams, they just put it out on a full package there. For my loser of the week, the Giants. You got blown out 40-0. They were completely unprepared to play. They had a punt return. A block field goal for a touchdown. They had a ton of sacks on Daniel Jones. I mean, he got pretty much killed.
7.
Yeah, to be exact. Thank you. Offensively, the Cowboys didn't do a whole lot, but it was a complete embarrassment from start to finish. It was right around 9/11. It was a Sunday night game, and you don't even put out a showing. So that's my loser of the week. So I have the Niners as my winners and the Giants as my losers. Go to you, James. Your week one losers and winners. And we'll kind of do this as a tradition for each week.
No, I love this because there's a lot of teams in week one that had so many question marks coming on in. And one of those were the Green Bay Packers. They were, to me, the week one winners because there was tremendous doubt or there was optimism, whichever way you wanted to go, with Jordan Love. And he went out there, he performed very well, 3 touchdown passes. Aaron Jones ran for a touchdown, also caught a touchdown. Dobbs caught a couple of touchdown passes. So even though the stats weren't really big, they got the job done. And then also the defense did really well against the Chicago Bears. So in that rivalry, we were wondering, okay, with Aaron Rodgers gone, are the Bears still owned by the Packers? Well, Aaron Jones, the other Aaron, left with the Packers, still owns the Chicago Bears. So I think they were the major winners of this week one. The losers, yeah, you can go with the Giants. But for me, I'm going to the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah. I couldn't believe that game. I kept looking at the score. I'm like, what the hell's going on in Seattle? I thought they were going to be good. And the Rams are supposed to be bad, and Stafford is, one big hit away from retirement or worse. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Geno Smith, I didn't really get to look at the stats this first time looking at him, but only throwing for 112 yards, 1 touchdown pass. They got nothing on the ground from Kenneth Walker, the third, I believe. Metcalf did catch a touchdown, but Najiba didn't get anything. Lockett only got a couple of passes. I was really shocked and really disappointed in the Seahawks because everything they came off of, the playoff year last year, maybe that was a damn fluke for all we know. But the Seahawks defense was really disappointing too. They gave up 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 to Williams, 1 to Akers. They let Stafford throw for 334 yards. They let that rookie Puka Nakuka. Yeah, I believe that's her name. But 10 receptions, 119 yards, and then Tutu Atwell had the same amount of yards receiving. I'm like, who the hell are these guys? And you let them get 119 yards each. So bad performance by the offense and the defense. Isaiah, please tell me again how to say that Seahawks guy's name. Jonathan Smith Najiba.
Njigba.
Hey, there you go. Yep.
Ooh, FCC, send me the bill.
All right, Isaiah, it's up to you now. Your winners and your losers of the week for week one.
All right, so my biggest winner of this week, I'm gonna, keep the Niners out of it because I don't want to be biased. But
It's okay if you want to, but
yeah, but you already brought it up. So
I
I
already did.
brought
I
it
already
up
did.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, a few times already. So for me, my biggest winner of this weekend, honestly, my biggest winner was probably the Miami Dolphins because the Dolphins
I like that.
showed that, hey, we have we have the best offense in the NFL. They went toe to toe with the LA Chargers. It was one hell of a game. The Dolphins won that game 36-34. Tua looks healthy. He looks good. His connection with Tyreek Hill looks even better than last year's. The running game looks very good. The defense, I think, will get a lot better because Vic Fangio's defense is always it's always a work in progress in that first year. So I'm not really worried about that. But also, you think about the Dolphins looking so good on offense, and the Jets lost their starting quarterback. He's out for the year, and Aaron Rodgers. The Patriots, sadly, don't really have the firepower to keep up with the Dolphins offensively. I think defensively, they can hold the Dolphins somewhat, but not like I think the dams eventually will break. And then you look at the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen looked like he belonged in Pee Wee football. I mean, good Lord, that guy. Are you kidding me? Like Stephen Wang, who always says like, "Oh, Allen sucks," yada yada yada, and he even brought up something about how he trusts Brock Purdy more over Josh Allen, which I thought was ludicrous. But he might be onto something. I mean, Josh Allen just hasn't been the same ever since Brian Daboll left, and Josh Allen has been awful ever since Brian Daboll left with the turnovers. And against the Jets, I mean, he had 3 turnovers. I think he also had a fumble, or 3 interceptions. He had a fumble as well, which is why my fantasy team scored a lot of points. Thank you, Josh Allen. But yeah, I mean, like the Dolphins, they may be now the best team in the AFC East, and that was honestly a big surprise because I thought for sure it would be Jets, Bills, and then Miami, and Buffalo would fight for 2 and 3. But now I think the Dolphins I know it's an overreaction probably, but the Dolphins, they look like the number 1 team in the AFC East. They look very, very good, and Ben and James, they might be the best team in the AFC as a whole. Because when you think about the AFC, the Bengals look like trash. The Chiefs look like trash. I know Kelsey's coming back. Chris Jones is coming back. I nearly said Chandler Jones. Goodness sakes. But even with those guys back, I mean, the Kelsey's going to get doubled and triple teamed. Then you're going to have to throw it to those receivers that you have, and do you trust Sky Moore? No. Do you trust Kadarius Toney? No. Yeah, like the Chiefs just don't really have a number 1 receiver that can get separation. So you look at all the top teams that were supposed to be the top, they all looked really bad in week 1. So Miami might be right now the best team in the AFC. And my losers, my biggest loser, honestly, it's the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, honestly, I did not expect much of the Vikings. I expected them to be a 5-win team. I thought they were going to be last in the NFC North. But you go out at home week 1 and you lose to Baker Mayfield, who started 6 for 20. He was 6 for 20 throwing the football. And Baker Mayfield, in that week 1 game against the Vikings, had like 3 drives where he missed like wide open guys, like just overshot them. And you lose to him. And let's look at Baker Mayfield's stats, shall we, fellas? He only threw for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns. And your defense somehow, some way against a Bucs team, which Ben, you and I both said that, hey, Todd Bowles is on the hot seat this year. We don't believe in Todd Bowles.
Right.
We think like he should have not been hired to begin with. You made his defense look like one of the best defenses in the NFL. Kirk Cousins had 1 interception. You couldn't run the football. Baker Mayfield somehow, some way beat you by only throwing for 173 yards, and their best running back only ran the football for 39 yards. Like, how is that even possible, man? Like, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, fellas, won this game despite the Vikings outscoring them in total offense 389 yards to 242. And the Vikings still lost. So the Minnesota Vikings, obviously the biggest loser for me. If you look at that Vikings schedule, you got Chargers, then you got the Pan at Carolina, which is not an easy place to play. And then you have Kansas City, then you have, I believe, Miami, and then you have the Bears, which they should win, and then you have San Francisco. I think the Vikings honestly could start out 1-7. Like, I think with that tough schedule, with how bad they played, the Vikings, I honestly think, are going 1-7, and I'm gonna throw in an extra loser just to, just because this. Yeah, I'm gonna just throw in one extra loser because I think he had a really bad weekend. It's Geno Smith, and my prediction of Geno Smith getting benched midseason and Drew Lock coming in to be the permanent quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. I honestly think that prediction is going to come true because Geno Smith against a Rams defense who only have Aaron Donald, and that's pretty much it. Geno Smith, and you're at home. Geno Smith against that defense. Geno Smith, fellas, had 112 yards passing. He was 16 of 26 for 112 yards and one touchdown. That's about it. Like, that is even worse than some of the guys that came in during mop-up duty. Like, you got to be kidding me, man. I think Drew Lock is going to take over midseason and be the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. And, one last loser, me, week 1. Because I hyped up the Jets. The Jets are going to go to the Super Bowl. The Jets are going to win the AFC East. The Jets are going to do this. The Jets are going to do that. And all those predictions are all in the trash can now.
All right. And we'll talk at the end after game picks to James about the Aaron Rodgers news and who you think specifically could replace him. I know after he went down specifically. But guys, are y'all ready for game picks for week 2? Let's get it. So we'll start off with the 1:00 slate games. The Green Bay Packers, the Atlanta Falcons, both teams going at 1-0. It's going to be in Atlanta. I have the Green Bay Packers winning this game. I really like the way that Jordan Love played in week 1 against the Bears. They're going to be playing on the road again in Atlanta. The Falcons just came away, I believe, against the Panthers. Desmond Ridder wasn't really great in the first half, but the Falcons actually predicted to win week 1, which I got right. But Bijan Robinson was a massive reason why their defense played really well. So I got the Packers in this one. It's going to be close, but I think they're going to go to 2-0 before I believe they go at home next week. So I'll go to you, James. Who do you got on this game?
I'm going to go with Green Bay, but I'm hoping it's a very offensive game. I'm hoping that inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium that both offenses will go off. The main confrontation, I think, will be the Packer run defense against the Atlanta run offense. And I want to see more of Cordell Patterson. So I'm hoping for a great offensive shootout. But I'm going to go Green Bay.
And how about you, Isaiah?
I'm going to go with the Cheeseheads. I think that this game is going to be a shootout. I think that both quarterbacks, Ridder and Jordan Love, are going to have really good games. I think the running games with both Aaron Jones and Bijan Robinson are going to be churning and be very effective. So I think this is going to be a shootout. Atlanta's defense is not that great. The Packers defense, I don't really trust them too much as well. So I got the Packers winning this, but I got it 34-31 Green Bay.
All right. James's Vegas Raiders travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills. The Raiders are actually the team that has the win and not the Bills to start off the season, which is pretty crazy to think. But that's why week 1 is always interesting. James, I'm going to have to go with Buffalo here. They're the much more hungrier team that's in Buffalo. The Raiders seem to have some guys that might be hurt. There might be some key guys, especially Jacoby Myers is out. That's a massive loss. The line right now is 9.5, and I believe on my show earlier tonight when they were asking me specifically in terms of do I take the cover or do I take the points from the Raiders, I said give me the cover on this one. I'm gonna hammer the 9.5. Give me the Bills. They're gonna be much more hungry, and Josh Allen is going to be back. To the Josh Allen that we know and love. All right, so we'll go to Isaiah first on this one. Raiders or Bills?
Ooh, this honestly is like I think a more trickier game than I think we're gonna expect. You know what? This is in Buffalo. The Raiders typically don't really play well on the East Coast. Give me the Bills. Josh Allen, he needs to bounce back. He's gonna want to bounce back after his massive disappointment on national TV. I think the Raiders will keep it close, and I think this will be a closer game than a lot of people expect because the Raiders are gonna run the football. They're gonna, with Jimmy G, they're gonna play very conservative football, limiting the Bills' amount of possessions. So give me the Bills to win this game. I'm gonna go with the Bills winning this game by a final score of 20-17.
Okay. And to our Raider fan, James here.
Yeah,
You feel like the Raiders could pull it off in the upset, or you're going to go with the Bills?
no, I agree with everything Isaiah mentioned. Other from the score, I think Buffalo's going to win by more. I just don't think the Raiders have enough firepower. The Bills' offense can be so much better. You just know Josh Allen is going to let it fly, especially in the nice weather it is going to be at Orchard Park in New York on Sunday. It's going to be, air weather where you just throw it out. You throw it out. So, yeah, channeling my inner Chris Berman, nobody circles the wagons better than the Buffalo Bills.
All right, this is an AFC North showdown. The Baltimore Ravens will travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. This is obviously going to be a really tight game. I actually picked in my earlier league we essentially could do what we call a coin flip in a way in terms of if we don't like specifically, if you feel like the line's too close of a way, we could take a coin flip. But I believe I took a coin flip, but I picked that the Bengals would cover the spread at 3.5. I think the Bengals are going to win this game, specifically the Raiders. The Ravens are going to be without J.K. Dobbins long term. I think that's a massive loss for their running game. I know that Jay Flowers had a big game for them in week 1. He's going to be a great player from Boston College, a receiver. Odell Beckham's there. The Ravens played really tough against the Bengals last year, and that was with Tyler Huntley. Lamar Jackson wasn't even available for that one. So I think the game's going to be close, but like the Bills, I think the Bengals respond back. They're at home and they're with their home fans, but it's going to be close. Give me the Bengals, 24-17. How about you, James?
Man, they better show up better because last week was horrible. They were one of the losers. Was Cincinnati. The Ravens had a pretty much easy opponent there, but yeah, the loss of Dobbins. Once I saw that, I was like, damn, already? That reminded me of the 2021 year, I believe, where they lost 3 running backs right away in training camp. The Ravens did. So it's just unfortunate the way that they do that. But you have to think the Bengals show up. But I'm worried about the calf of Joe Burrow. I'm worried about the rushing game, the defense. I'm going with the Ravens.
All right, and I'll go to you, Isaiah. Who do you got for this game, Ravens or Bengals?
Division battles, fellas, are always very, very close, no matter how great the other team is or how bad one team is and how great the other team is or vice versa. I think this is in Cincinnati. The Bengals are going to want to bounce back after the drubbing by the Browns. Joe Burrow did not look great in that game, or he looked, not great. He looked awful in that game.
Career lone passing yards, so I'll say that.
Yeah. And you know what? I think, honestly, he's going to continue to look bad because I think that, right now Joe Burrow's kind of like in that preseason mode where he needs to get 2 or 3 games to get his feet under him, and the Ravens defense is no joke. So give me the Ravens. I think the Ravens go into Cincinnati and beat the Bengals. The defense is able to hold down that Cincinnati Bengals high-powered offense, and Lamar Jackson has a couple of touchdown rushes with his legs. And I think Odell gets his first touchdown that he's had in 2 years.
I love to hear that. I really love Odell. Seattle is going to go to play the Lions. Lions obviously are coming off a upset win in Kansas City. The Seahawks obviously are coming off of a drumming loss at home against the Rams. I'm going with the Seahawks in this game. I'm going with the upset here. The Seahawks actually played the Lions last year in Detroit, and the Seahawks took it in a really high-scoring affair. I think that the Lions defense takes a little bit of a step back, specifically the way that they played last week, which was really exciting for them. But I do think that their offense is going to be able to score a lot, especially with the way that the Rams were able to score a lot on Seattle last week with their defense. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I think Seattle comes out. I just don't think that the Seahawks offense is going to have a massive letdown after last week. Give me the Seahawks. 28 to, I'd say 25. I'll go to you, Isaiah.
Ben, give me Detroit. I think this game is in Detroit. The Seahawks looked awful against the Rams, who were supposed to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. Their defense, we all thought it was going to be fixed. But it clearly isn't fixed. And Geno Smith's struggles are going to continue. Geno Smith is playing a Lions secondary, which is one of the best in the NFL, led by C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They contained Patrick Mahomes and really limited him in the second half of that game. But here's why I'm picking the Lions. Because you have the Lions' offensive line, which is one of the best offensive lines in the entire NFL, led by Penei Sewell. And you go up against the Seahawks defensive line, which struggles to stop the run. And the Lions have one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL. Their offensive line gets great push. I think Jared Goff has a good day, but I think it's going to be the running game that is going to carry the Detroit Lions to this victory. Give me Detroit. I think Detroit wins it, and I think Detroit wins it pretty handily. I think Geno Smith's struggles continue, and we may see Drew Lock in this game.
All right, James, what do you got for Seahawks Lions?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm going to go with the Lions. There's a reason why there's all this hype. There's a reason why I don't like and trust Geno Smith, and it's going to show. I mean, DK Metcalf may average one blow up a game on the sideline. It really might come to that. You might see another one this weekend in Detroit. So I'm going with the Lions. I feel like they've had a lot of time off since last Thursday. And Seahawks coming off that bad loss. I would guess there's a lot of dysfunction on the offensive side as well as the defensive side. And I want to see the fans. I want to hear the fans of that Lions game on Sunday, because that place is going to be sold out. It's going to be loud. It's going to be raucous. I can't wait for that atmosphere. I'm going with the Lions.
All right. The Chargers are going to be going to Nashville to take on the Tennessee Titans. The Titans obviously are coming off of a 1-point loss against the Saints. The Chargers are coming off of a 3-point or 4-point loss against the Dolphins, which was a very good game in week 1. Give me the Chargers in this game. I think that the Titans, they just have a really bad situation right now. Quarterback, Ryan Tannehill, DeAndre Hopkins. I still don't understand why you joined that. 3 interceptions in week 1 already. You just can't make this up. You really can't. So I'm going to go with the Chargers, 30-17. I think that that Justin Herbert's going to ball out. I just don't trust that Titans team, at least early on in the season. And Hopkins already might be on the injury report right now. So if he's not even 100%, Derrick Henry seems like I guess I looked at the snap count for the Titans last week. I guess they played this other kid at running back over Derrick Henry. So I don't really know what to say with that team right now. So I'm going to go with the Chargers, 30-17. I'll go to you, James, first. Chargers or Titans?
Yeah, so DeAndre Hopkins has not practiced, I think, in the last back-to-back. He's missed practice.
Forget it.
I will. Yeah, again, I wanted him to go to Kansas City, and you could obviously tell that they needed him last week. I'm gonna go with the Chargers. I feel like Eckler's gonna be back, and they're gonna run well. They're gonna pass well. They're gonna really expose Tennessee's defense that used to be really, really good. They're really, really bad now. One-trick pony are the tight ends with their rushing attack, and they don't have any good quarterbacks. All three are bad. And that stadium's awful. It'll probably be a real jury day. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chargers.
All right. What about you, Isaiah?
Oh man, my DeAndre Hopkins pick for fantasy football looks worse and worse by the day. I mean, good lord. But I'm gonna go with the Chargers. Tennessee's a mess. They can't score with the best of them. They don't have enough firepower. Hopkins might not play, which makes it even worse. I think the Chargers blow out Tennessee. I think the Tennessee's defense is able to hold them for like the first couple of drives, but then the dam ends up breaking after that because the Chargers just have too much offensive firepower. So give me LA.
All right. The Justin Fields led Chicago Bears, who came off a loss in Week 1 against the Packers, are going to take on Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh man,
This was kind of a game that was like early on my picks league with my friends from my other network. It was like a toss up for pretty much everybody. We really just didn't know really who to pick because it's just like, both teams are just kind of Justin Fields, Baker Mayfield. But I went with the Bucs. I think that it's at home for them. I think that Baker Mayfield's going to have. I don't know if he's going to have the same decent amount of week from Week 1, but I think they're going to do enough. I just don't know if I can really trust that Bears team right now. And Isaiah, I do agree with you in terms of Matt Eberflus. I think he could be one of the first coaches potentially on the hot seat, especially with potentially the way that the season might go early on with that Bears team, because I do have the Lions win the division, and then the Packers probably going to be in second. So, they're one of the biggest teams that had a lot of spending this offseason. So it's a really big early part of the season for the Bears to make a statement. But I have them going down to 0-2. So give me the Bucs here, but it's a game specific where it can really go either way. I'm going to go 20-17, Tampa. So I'll go to you, Isaiah. Who do you got in this game? Bears or Bucs?
I think this is going to be one of the best games of Week 2. I don't really believe in both of these two teams. I think the Bucs win over the Vikings were a fluke. I think the Bears were awful in their game against the. See, I mean that's how bad they were. I don't even remember who they even played. They played Green Bay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they played Green Bay.
Chicago.
In Chicago, and they were awful. Justin Fields looks like he needs a change of scenery. I mean, they are just not developing him. The offense is horrific. Matt Eberflus's defense has shown no improvement from year 1, year 2, and year 3. So I think ultimately, I'm going to go with the Bucs just because I think they're a little bit better of a team than the Chicago Bears are. I think the defense for the Bucs will really confuse the heck out of Justin Fields and make him turn the football over a couple of times. So give me Tampa Bay.
And what about you, James? You got the Bears, you got the Bucs.
Man, I wish there was like a hurricane coming and they could just postpone that game and just like never play it again. Never try to play it again.
Well, there's apparently, speaking of a hurricane, there's apparently one that's trying to hit the Northeast. So,
it should go down. It should go down Florida. I'm going to go Buccaneers. I'm hoping Baker Mayfield can play better, but that Bears defense has to get after it. They didn't show up at all last game. And then, with Justin Fields, they got him the offensive line. It's all on him. It really is. And they got to have the rushing attack going better. They have to expose that Tampa Bay defense that lost a lot seemingly. But I'm going to go Buccaneers. It'll probably be like a 13-6, 13-9 win. It's going to be real ugly.
All right, the next game. This will be a game that will be a grab your popcorn type of game. So the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Patrick Mahomes against Trevor Lawrence. This is a tough one because obviously the Chiefs are bound to be a team that usually always bounce back from a loss like that. I think that somebody in my team earlier tonight, they had a stat line with Patrick Mahomes, I think 13-3 or something after a loss. I mean, it's just a crazy stat that he pretty much responds with. They get Travis Kelce back with Chris Jones, I think, in defense. I think the Jags can put up a fight. It's going to be a really high-scoring game, but I have the Chiefs winning, let's see, 27-17. I think Jacksonville takes a little bit step back offensively, but they'll be within reach, and then the Chiefs are going to score a touchdown or two to kind of cap it off at the end. But it's going to be a really good game. And I think Kelce gets his first touchdown on the game. I just think that the weapons, too, will kind of be a lot more in sync. I don't expect another bounce back, a really tough game like they had in week 1 against the Lions. So I'll go to you, James. Chiefs or Jaguars?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to have like 4 different TVs going at once at the bar because there's a lot of good morning games here. But yeah, this one, it always seems like a revenge game every year against the Chiefs, whomever plays them in the playoffs. We know last year they lost in the divisional round to the Chiefs, did Jacksonville. This year, I think there's going to be an ounce of revenge that's wanted. Fans are going to be going crazy there in Jacksonville. And maybe the Chiefs will have more issues. But the good thing is they got Kelce back. They got Jones back. So that'll help both sides of the ball. For some reason, I'm feeling Jacksonville. And ETN has to run better. And then Zay Jones had a great game. I'm waiting for Calvin Ridley to break out this year. I think that Chiefs defense is just really that bad. They looked like it last week, and I know Jones will be there, but I'm going to go with Jacksonville. They just have a revenge factor right there, and I want to see them win that game. Not only because they're in my division, but the Chiefs are in my division, but I just want to see someone, in a sense, get back at the Chiefs like the Bengals have in the recent years. But again, this is not when it counts, but it would be nice. It would solidify the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think, if they won on Sunday. So I'm gonna go with Jacksonville.
What about you, Isaiah?
Bravo, James. Great pick. I'm going to go with the Jags as well. I think that when you look at the Chiefs, the defense is very suspect. Even with Chris Jones back, it helps, but they go from basically awful to being bad. There's secondary still can't cover. The linebackers are always lost. I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to have a great day in this game. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a great day too. I think we're about to see a great duel between Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence, and I think it's going to come down to whoever gets the ball in the final possession. And I think Jacksonville being at home, it's their home opener, their fans are going to be riled up. Like James mentioned, it's the revenge factor. And I think the Jags with Trevor Lawrence take the ball and just march down the field, game-winning field goal, and I think they end up taking this game.
We'll see what happens. It should be a really good one there. All right, you got 2 rookie quarterbacks going at it. Anthony Richardson against C.J. Stroud and Colts Texans. Me and Lover were talking about this game, kind of going back and forth yesterday. I'm going to go Colts in this one. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is going to be out for the first 4 weeks of the season, so that's obviously a massive loss, but I'm going to go with the Colts here. I just don't really know specifically how the Texans are going to be to start the year, and Anthony Richardson at least kind of showed a little bit of promise last week against that Jags team, kind of kept them within reach, but this is a tough one because kind of both teams with rookie quarterbacks, it's kind of really hard to kind of figure out really, so but I think the Colts are going to have the edge in this one. I think this is going to be a series that's going to be split, and I think that the Colts are going to go to Houston and win this one. I'll go to you, Isaiah. Who do you got on this one, the Colts or the Texans?
I'm going to go with the Texans just because I think they have the better offensive weapons around C.J. Stroud, and I think they'll be able to put up more points than the Colts. The thing with the Colts is for Anthony Richardson, he reminds me a lot, sadly, of the quarterback for Alabama, Jalen Milroe, where he just takes the snap. His first couple reads aren't open and just takes off and run. He panics. And that's the thing that I see with Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson, you're going to have at least a couple of years for him to develop. And the Colts defense is not that great. Jonathan Taylor is not going to be there, like you mentioned, Ben. Give me the Texans. I think that with all those factors combined, I think the Texans end up pulling this one out, and I think they win by at least a touchdown.
And what about you, James?
Man, if they could lock the doors to NRG Stadium or whatever it's called now, that'd be nice. So these two won't have to play. I'm gonna go Colts. They'll sneak it out somehow. Anthony Richardson, he looked okay. You knew the team was gonna lose last week, but you knew that Richardson was gonna put up some numbers, and he did. It wasn't the same for C.J. Stroud, but yeah, I guess I'll go with the Colts, but hopefully C.J. Stroud can put out a good performance in his first home game. But I'm going to go with the Colts. I know they don't have Quentin Nelson. That's really big up front, being the center. But Zach Moss will be back, and then Michael Pittman Jr. had a big game last week. I'm hoping that continues, that they can have a connection together for years. That'd be nice. So I'm going to go with the Colts.
All right. Now it's your team, Isaiah. The San Francisco 49ers will travel to SoFi Stadium, or you can call it 49ers West, because every single time that they go to SoFi, it is filled with about 75 to about 80% Niner fans. So you can think about it that way in terms of it's a Niner home game away, in a way. I'm going to go with the Niners in this one, and your Niners, Isaiah, go to 2-0. I know that the Rams scored, I think, 30 points last week, but Cooper Kupp's out. They're playing against a much better defense, especially with the way that they played last week to kind of show off their team. Brock Purdy, I think, is going to have another good game. Geno Smith or Brock Purdy, give me Purdy any day of the week. And then the running game. Christian McCaffrey, obviously Kittle probably have a lot better of a game. I think he only had like 4 catches, and they beat the Steelers like crazy, which is insane. So that's just how good they're going to be. I think it's going to be a close game in this one. These two teams play each other pretty well, but I think that the Niners are going to come out on top. So I'll go to my 49er fan first, Isaiah. Who do you got winning this game? I assume you're probably picking San Fran as usual.
Well, before I get into my pick, I just want to show you fellas something, and that is I got this just in time for this game, and I got it today, and that is right here, man.
Oh,
nice.
Brock Purdy jersey, man, that I got right here. It looks fresh, it looks good, and it looks ready for that game, man. And it looks ready for a Super Bowl run, honestly. But that's too far down the line from now. But I'm gonna go with the Niners. The Niners have dominated the Rams in the past, it seems like 8 meetings. They have won the last 8 regular season meetings against the Rams. The Rams won 1, which was the NFC Championship, which still kills me to this day. But the Niners have owned the Rams. This Rams team is not as potent as the Rams team in the past. I think the Niners are able to run the football down the Rams' throat. I think Purdy is able to game manage it. And I just think that Purdy's going to have a good day. The secondary is not that great. The defensive line for the Rams, led by Aaron Donald, but it's Aaron Donald, and that's it. Double Aaron Donald and make the other guys beat you. And Matthew Stafford, oh my God. I'm scared for him. I'm scared, legit scared for his career. Because remember what the Niners did to Kenny Pickett, where they were hitting him every single play against when the Niners played the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 1? Matthew Stafford, one bad hit, and he's done. He is done. And sadly, I don't want this to happen, but I really fear for his career this upcoming weekend.
What about you, James? You got the Niners or you got the Rams?
I hate that the 49ers are going to blow them out 48-17, but that's what's going to happen. I know a lot of people that are going to the game. What I hear, it's going to be 90% 49er fans. It's going to be all red, basically. just like last year. So, little history lesson: when the Rams left, everybody 30 years ago, the popular team was either the 49ers and the Cowboys in LA. And that's why you're seeing like all these Niner fans just pop up out of nowhere. The funny thing, though, they're also Dodger fans. So they hate the Giants in San Francisco, but they love the 49ers, but they're Dodger fans. It's the weirdest dynamic
So
as a
weird.
fan. As
They're
a
even
fan
Laker fans too. Don't forget about that. They're even Laker fans, and they hate the Warriors.
It's the weirdest dynamic out here on the West Coast, Ben, but it's confusing as hell. But yeah, 48-17 49ers on Sunday. It's going to be awful.
All right. All right, next game, we got the Giants taking on the Arizona Cardinals. This feels like a response for the Giants. I'll pretend I don't know specifically in terms of what was going on here, but I'll just say this specifically: the Giants got absolutely killed on Week 1 against the Cowboys, 40-0. This feels like a response game mightily for the Giants. Even if the Giants like struggle a little bit, this will be a game specifically where they just need to score at least, I'm going to say 20 points max.
Yeah.
Josh Dobbs specifically, if Josh Dobbs scores 20 points on you max, you should be absolutely embarrassed. But they're not going to do that. I think it's going to be Giants 20. I'm going to say Cardinals 10. I'll be nice and give them 10 points. I'll go to you, James, first. You got the Giants or you got the Cardinals?
I don't even want that game to be played. Oh my God. So I was laughing. I was like, "Oh no!" Somehow Arizona has lost have won the last 4 games in this series, but it was different. Arizona had more talent than the Giants. I'm gonna go with the Giants, thinking like, "Hey, they're gonna respond better. They're gonna run the ball with Barkley well." Throw the screen passes, but then they're going to get the offense going with Daniel Jones, go back to the basics, and hopefully the defense shows up. And then Romeo Dobbs, he's having night and day offensive growth, so it's not really good. It's not really bad. It's just there. It's going to be ugly, but the Giants win ugly. They always do. So I'm going to go with New York.
It kind of reminds you of that Giants-Vikings game last year a little bit in playoffs, right? Or the Vikings, Steven, I'm sorry to tell you, but you guys were pretty fraudulent last year, and we'll see about this year as well. But Isaiah, Giants or Cardinals, somebody has to win.
I'm actually going to go with Arizona, believe it or not. It's in Arizona. The Cardinals, I give them credit. They fought. They might not be the most talented team, but they're gritty and they fight, and their defense against a Commanders team who I thought was going to be, and this was, honestly, one of the better results of Week 1 was that my Commanders pick did not get embarrassed because I thought the Cardinals were going to beat the Commanders for the longest period of time because the Cardinals led that game. Yeah, they led that game for a lot of that game. But I mean, the thing with the Giants is they don't have a good offensive line, and the Cardinals have a good defensive line, which is going to get after Daniel Jones and just sack him like crazy like the Cowboys did. So I think it's going to be kind of like the Commanders-Cardinals game where it's going to be a close, low-scoring game. But give me the Cardinals. It's in Arizona, Jonathan Gannon's home debut. Give me Arizona to win this game. I'm going to go Cardinals like 18-14. It's going to be like a weird low-scoring game.
Okay. All right. This was a game specifically that I think many people were looking forward to, but we'll see kind of where things go now. Aaron Rodgers' Jets are going to be going to Dallas to take on the Dallas Cowboys. Right now, I think it's a 9.5 favorite for Dallas. Of course, I wanted to at least favor somehow with the Jets, but Zach Wilson, offensive line, just exactly like the Giants' offensive line in Week 1, just got absolutely killed. I was telling my buddies earlier who are some Jet fans, are just like, I have no confidence in this game at all. How can you not? I mean, So yeah, that Dallas front's gonna absolutely kill that Jets offensive line, and I hope Zach Wilson gets out of that game alive because they don't have anybody else behind him. So that's why I think personally they should take a look at potentially some veteran quarterbacks just in case, right? Minor league. So give me Dallas, and I think the crazy thing is Dallas offensively wasn't even that good in the first week, but they didn't really have to do a lot because it was just an absolute blowout. So I will go to you, James. Who do you have, the Jets or the Cowboys?
Yeah, the Cowboys should win this game easy. It's going to be a love fest, I think, with the Cowboys. I mean, they're going to bring up how many points they scored, how many turnovers they had, but they're not going to really talk about the offense and how bad they performed. Despite, I mean, it was bad weather in New Jersey, so maybe the Cowboys are going to go out this time and score 50. Who knows? It's going to seem like a blowout. I mean, Jets had that wild week 1 game, of course, on Monday. A miracle happened, but there's no more miracles left. You're basically stuck like last year where a major injury happened and you can't recover, but it's already happened in week 1. So, I think the Cowboys are easily going to put up I think they'll put up 45 points. I think it's going to be like 45-17 Cowboys.
All right, and what about you, Isaiah?
Believe it or not, I'm going to go with the upset. Give me the Jets. I think this is going to be a battle of defenses. It's going to be a close game. The Jets defense looked like a championship defense on Monday night. The Cowboys defense definitely looked like a championship defense as well. So you got 2 championship defenses going at it. It's going to come down to turnovers. And Dak Prescott loves turning that football over. And I think he's going to have a Josh Allen game where he turns the football over like 3 times and throws like 2 of them being interceptions. And the Jets are going to capitalize with that short field position. And I think the thing with Zach Wilson is he just needs to be like Brock Purdy. Do not turn the football over and let your skill position players do their thing. And I think you see a big game out of both Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. And the defense is the one that really carries the Jets. So give me New York.
All right. The Washington Commanders, who just squeaked out a win last week against the Cardinals, go to Broncos. Country, let's ride. Right? Anyone? Ride? No? Okay. So obviously, James's Raiders took the win in Broncos country last week. This feels like a specific Raiders Broncos game this week in terms it's going to be really close. One team's going to have to win. You got Ron Rivera against Sean Payton. You got Sam Howell against Russell Wilson. So I'm leaning towards the Broncos in this one. Sean Payton gets his first win in Denver this weekend. I'm going to say 19-16. Russell Wilson, I thought, played all right last week. Kind of given all circumstances compared to what he was last year. So I'll go to you, James. You got the Commanders or Broncos?
What's funny about this game is that the Commanders' offensive coordinator is Eric Bieniemy, and then Vance Joseph is his longtime friend. So they're both going to go at it. They're both going to have some fun with this game, I think. I don't know how offensive it's going to get. It'll probably be offensive, but in another way. I'm thinking the upset. I'm going with Washington, whatever their names is. I just don't like what Denver did, honestly. I want to see Washington pull out all their weapons and run the ball well, throw the ball well. And then with Denver, it feels like they can never put a complete game together and score enough points. And maybe Washington is going to score enough like they did last week. So I'm going Washington.
Okay. I'll go to you, Isaiah. Who do you got?
If the Broncos lose this game, it's going to really hurt my soul because of how much I really bought stock in the Denver Broncos this past offseason.
Sure did.
Not as much as the Jets, but still, that's a lot. I'm gonna go with Denver. You know, if the Broncos lose this game, Sean Payton should immediately retire from coaching. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, you're gonna start 0-2, and the first two games you lose to is the Raiders and Denver and the Washington Commanders. That would be an absolutely horrific start to his career. So with the Broncos, so give me the Broncos. The Broncos are a better team. They got the better defense. They got the better quarterback with Russell Wilson. Sean Payton's a better coach than Ron Rivera. So give me Denver. Denver's got the better pieces. If Denver loses this game, Sean Payton, just declare your retirement immediately.
And before we get into the next game, we also want to thank Chardol for joining us backstage. He's going to give us some comments in terms of some of his picks. So Chardol picked the Commanders to beat the Broncos on a game-winning field goal. So we'll see specifically what happens. I think it's going to be close. So we'll see how things go here. All right, now to my game. The Dolphins and Patriots, Sunday Night Football, Mike Tirico, with Chris Collinsworth. Me and Noah already talked about this one. I'll tell you what about this one, guys. It's Sunday Night Football. I really was, pleased with the way the Patriots finished off the game against the Eagles. I mean, heck, the Patriots really won every category last week against the Eagles outside of one category that you have to win in which they didn't. And that's the turnover battle. And the Eagles had turnovers to R1 last week, and that's the biggest difference of the game. I think that Tua obviously is a great quarterback. He's the better quarterback between him and Mac, obviously. But I think that the Patriots defense is going to do a really good job being able to keep Tua one-dimensional and make him run a lot. And I think that's going to be something to maybe keep him off balance. I think that the offense is going to do enough, specifically the running game, because the Dolphins' running game is not good at all. I mean, Austin Eckler was able to run at them at will, and Ramondre Stevenson, who didn't have a massive game last week, I think responds in this one. And so I think that it's going to come down to time possession and defense, and I'm gonna ride out with the Patriots in this one. I'm gonna go with the Patriots by the final 23-20, and I think that they're going to be able to keep that around specifically because I think that they're going to be able to keep confidence after that week that they had against the Eagles and that high-powered offense that they had there. So I'm going to go with the Patriots in an upset. I really am, and I think that they're going to go to 1-1. So I'll go to you, Isaiah. Who do you got, Dolphins or Patriots?
I got the Dolphins, but I think this game is going to be closer than a lot of people expect. I think that the Patriots are going to show up. It's at home. It's Sunday Night Football. The Patriots defense is going to be able to hold down the Miami Dolphins offense, but again, it's going to be because of the Dolphins' firepower, and the Patriots don't really have that much firepower to be able to match the Dolphins. That's the reason why I'm taking the Dolphins. It depends. It really comes down to Tua and the big explosive plays. If the Patriots can limit the big explosive plays to guys like Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, then I think the Patriots have a chance. But if Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are going off like they did against the Chargers and they're putting up like 35 points, like it's over because New England just doesn't have the firepower to score 30-plus points and match a team like that. So it's going to come down to big explosive plays. Give me Miami. I think there's going to be 2 or 3 big explosive plays that are just going to be killers, and it's going to end up giving the Dolphins the win. And plus, remember, Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator of the Dolphins, he's had success against Bill Belichick in the past. I know, Belichick coaches the defense, Fangio coaches the defense, but still, Fangio has had success going up against the Patriots offense in the past. Ben, I don't know if you remember back in 2020 when the Broncos played the Patriots, and the Broncos actually won that game, but it was a very close game, and it was like I think the Patriots only scored like 13 points in that game. It was like 15-13. But Fangio, he's had success, and I expect the success to continue.
What about you, James? You got the Dolphins or Patriots?
Yeah, sadly, I agree with Isaiah. I just think big plays are going to happen. Tyreek Hill, he's always making me think he's the best receiver in the NFL. I think Tua's out to show that, he's going to break out and prove everybody wrong. I like that statement he made in the press conference about the doubters and how he can't throw deep, and then it's like, well, I threw for 440 something yards, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I really like that comeback. I can tell you one thing: the Patriots are doing well for Sunday night. They're going to wear their red throwback jerseys, so I'm looking forward to that. If only Miami could wear those white throwback jerseys, then we've got a really
They
good.
might actually. I don't know. There was a report out maybe that they might, but we'll see.
But yeah, I got to go with the Dolphins. I just feel like they have more firepower. Mac Jones, I'm hoping that someone tells him about what Tyreek Hill said to him or said about him, that Tyreek Hill mentions that Mac Jones is a sorry quarterback. So hopefully that fuels the fire of Mac Jones and the Patriot offense.
Hopefully Mac takes a lot of a little personal.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shardell also had the comment here. He said he's rolling with the Dolphins. All right, 2 games on Monday night this week. Usually it's just one, but the 2 games that are Monday night this week, so we'll combine those 2 right now. It'll be a NFC South showdown between the Saints and Panthers. Kick it off on the early slate, and then the later slate will be AFC North showdown between the Browns and the Steelers. For the first early slate on the Monday night, I'm going to go with the Saints. It's going to be a really close game. Derek Carr, obviously, against Bryce Young. I think that the Panthers have a slow start to the year. The Saints have a good start to the year. This is obviously going to be a split, I think, in terms of the series. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a really good game. Dennis Allen against Frank Wright as well. I'm going to probably go Saints 23 or 24. I'm going to say 27-17. I think that the Saints offense was a little bit better than they did last week. Panthers going to come up a little bit short. And then the Browns Steelers, give me the Steelers. They had a really slow start. Obviously, really tough opponent to start off. They come and respond. And I think that the Browns offense is going to be, shut down a lot in this game. I think that the Steelers defense responds. So I'm going to go to James first. Who do you have in those 2 games to finish off the Monday night slate and the week 2 slate?
I hate that there's 2 games on Monday night. That's just weird. They overlap each other. I'm going to go with the Saints. I know this is the Carolina home opener, but I hope it's a close game, but I think the Saints will overpower them with their offense and defense. Hopefully I hope it's a close one, but I'm doubting that. I'm going Saints easily. And then Browns and Steelers, the Browns had a really good game. It was a rainy day there against the Cincinnati Bengals, but the Steelers you can't really trust. I know you can't really trust the Browns either, but I just have a bad feeling the Steelers are going to implode on Monday night. They were embarrassed by the Niners on Sunday. I think the Browns, I don't know if they're going to be really good, but they want to prove that they can be good, especially Deshaun Watson. So I'm going to go with the Browns winning. I don't trust the Steelers at all. So I'm going to go Saints and Browns on Monday.
What about you, Isaiah?
So Saints, I got the Saints winning that game against the Panthers. I like the Panthers. But I think the Panthers right now are a little bit too young. I think it's going to be a really good game though, between Bryce Young and Derek Carr. But I think Carr ultimately takes it. The defense for New Orleans gets a couple of big time stops down the stretch to give the Saints the win. And then as far as Steelers and Browns go, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh bounces back. Their defense looks a lot better now. I know, San Francisco torched them, but still, I think their defensive line looks better. I think the Steelers are going to get whipped by Mike Tomlin this week in practice because of that sorry showing against the Niners in week 1 where they got thoroughly embarrassed at home. And the Steelers are going to be better. They're going to be they're going to show up to that game, and defensively, offensively, I think you're going to see a much better performance by the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 2 than week 1.
All right, and that concludes week 2, the NFL slate. So that should be a really exciting week. We will discuss Thursday Night Football from this Eagles Vikings game next show. I want to get into some college football stuff really quickly before we conclude for tonight. And obviously, thank you guys for joining. For those that did join, obviously we could do our team reports if we want to, but obviously that there were some massive games in week 2 from college football to kind of recap really quickly if you guys want to. Obviously Texas Alabama was a massive one. Quinn Ewers going into Bama, which is of course a house of horrors for many teams, and beating Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide. Number 11th ranked Texas going against Alabama, which is number 3rd ranked. Let me just see if there was anything else that kind of really stood out to me specifically. I mean, many other teams out. I mean, Georgia, 45-3 against Ball State. Penn State, 63-7. Ohio State, 35-7. Notre Dame over NC State, 45-24. Clemson, 66-17. Michigan, steamrolling UNLV. A lot of these specific ones. Miami beating Texas A&M, 48-33. That was obviously, unranked against a ranked. But, yeah, I mean, obviously that Texas-Alabama game was probably the game of the weekend. And then, James, man, your USC Trojans are going to be the biggest reason why you're going to be happy, I think, for the remainder of the year because, the Angels obviously give you the, misery, the Raiders, but man, the USC Trojans, I'm telling you right now, they got the best quarterback in probably college football, maybe even the best player in college football. And that team is just, I mean, Stanford in the first couple of weeks that they faced obviously haven't been great teams, but heck, they scored in the high 40s the last 3 weeks. I mean, they're going to be so fun to watch, especially with that coaching with Lincoln Riley there. So I'll quickly go to you guys, and then week 3 really quick, kind of let you guys take it away, and then we'll go into our final thoughts. Florida State, Boston College. Hopefully Boston College can give Florida State a game because I do like BC. So we'll see specifically how that goes in week 3. South Carolina goes to Georgia, 3:30 on CBS. Alabama will go to South Florida. That's Alabama's projected to win that 33 points in this right now. Georgia's projected to win by 27 in terms of its line right now. Ohio State's playing Western Kentucky. That's not even going to be close. Bowling Green and Michigan. Michigan's supposed to win by, I think, 40 points in terms of its line there. You know what? Texas, Tennessee, and Florida. That would be a game to watch Saturday night. The line right now is Tennessee at -6. I think it's going to be a back-and-forth type game. And Colorado State in Colorado late Saturday night. Deion Sanders with Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter. They're the team to watch right now in college football, boys. So lots of fun ones. And then Hawaii, I know that you like Hawaii. They're playing against Oregon on Saturday night. So that's going to be obviously exciting to watch too. So lots of good games this weekend, especially the ninth slot. You got Tennessee, Florida, you got Colorado State and Colorado, obviously with Deion Sanders. Then you have Hawaii, Oregon. Miami's playing Texas, 2-0 against 2-0 there. So I'll go to you, Isaiah. Just your overall storylines. Anything really college football related from week 2, and then stuff to watch in week 3.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from week 2 is that Alabama's done. And Alabama, I think, is done for the foreseeable future. I think you're looking at a 4-5 loss team this year, Ben and James. Believe it or not, Alabama. I don't know about you guys, but for me, when I watched that Alabama versus Texas game, I didn't at any point in that game, thought that Bama had any control of that game. I thought that Texas had control. Even when Bama was coming back, they were coming back. I thought Texas was just going to keep striking and striking and striking. There wasn't that Bama fear factor for me. There just wasn't. And it was crazy because normally when you think about Alabama, whatever team has that big lead, you just think, like, okay, Bama's going to come back. Bama's going to come back. Bama's going to come back. But for me, during that game, I never thought Bama was going to come back. I thought that, like, Texas was ultimately going to win. And the reason why is because, number one, Alabama's defense is not that great. And, normally when their defense is not that great, their offense can pick up the defense and still carry them. And last year, Bryce Young had to save Alabama multiple times. But now you don't have that Bryce Young. You don't have a great quarterback. In fact, you don't even have a good quarterback. Jalen Milroe, he's not that good. And he's a guy that if you just, put a spy in the middle of the field, you stop Alabama's run game, he shows his flaws as a passer, and he cannot throw the football with accuracy. And Ty Simpson, who's the backup, he struggled with interceptions in practice. Imagine if you're in practice against a not-so-great Alabama defense and you're struggling with interceptions. Imagine you going up against Georgia, or you're going up against LSU, or you're going up against Tennessee or Texas A&M. Imagine how you will look against those teams. Not good. And then, Tyler Buckner, the transfer from Notre Dame, who they have at quarterback, I think, Ben, you know about him because Ohio State played Notre Dame last year, and the reason why the Fighting Irish weren't really in that game was because Buckner did not look good. I mean, he struggled to move the football. They were constantly going 3 and out. So Bama has no great options at quarterback. And when you think about Alabama, if you already lost to Texas, that's one loss. You cannot lose the rest of the season. And you look at games on their schedule. Like, you look at teams that have potent offenses on their schedule. Tennessee and Bama, Tennessee might beat Bama by 20. Like, the reason why Texas did not beat Bama by 20 in that game, even though Texas had control for most of that game, was because Texas kept making self-inflicted mistakes. And that's why Texas did not win by more. But if imagine Tennessee and Bama, like, Tennessee will kill Bama with the Bama's quarterback situation, and also them not being able to move the football and their defense being bad. That's just a recipe for disaster. Bama might lose to Texas A&M. Texas A&M's offense is so much better. Their defense not so much, but I still take Texas A&M's defense or offense over Bama's defense. And then you look at LSU, who beat Bama last year in LSU. Brian Kelly has a much better squad than Nick Saban this year. And then you got to look at the other teams that you did not really expect Bama to lose to. Like, I know South Florida is South Florida, but their coach, Alex Golesh, runs the Tennessee offense. And he's got an explosive quarterback. And I think South Florida could give Bama a challenge in that game because Bama is just so limited offensively that they cannot put up points like they used to, and their defense is not really that good. So I think that's Saturday. I think we could see Bama being in a tight game against South Florida, but also Ole Miss. Ole Miss has a high-powered offense with Lane Kiffin, with Jackson Dart. I could see Bama losing that game. And also Mississippi State the week later. They have Will Rogers in Mississippi State, and Will Rogers is considered by many to be a Heisman Trophy contender. So, Ben and James, I think we're looking at a 5-loss team possibly for Alabama this year. And if you're Alabama and you lose 5 games, then the question starts to come up. Is this Nick Saban's last year, believe it or not?
No.
5 losses. If you lose 5 losses, if you lose 5 games in the SEC,
take a couple of years, I'd say.
Is he going to retire at this point?
No.
Because, we've seen coaches before where they're like, they're great, but then they have that one, like, not bad year, one really bad year. Then they end up retiring or, they end up stepping down. So this is going to be interesting. Like, we've never seen Bama just not be that dominant force, and I think we're about to see that this year. And as far as the other games for this upcoming weekend, Florida, Tennessee, like you mentioned, Ben, I think that's going to be a really good game. You look at the other games on the slate, Michigan State and Washington. I think that's going to be a very underrated game between the Huskies and the Spartans. And the game that I'm looking forward to personally is LSU at Mississippi State. Mississippi State is a very tough place to play. They're 2-0 right now. LSU is 1-1. LSU's defense has not looked that great. They're giving up a lot of deep balls. And who is a really good thrower of the deep ball? Will Rogers. And there's a reason why he's a Heisman Trophy contender. And I think Mississippi State can go and shock LSU this upcoming week. And if they do, Mississippi State, I think, in my opinion, is in the driver's seat to the SEC West title.
All right, James, we'll go to you. Anything that you want to take away from the week 2 of the college football season, and then anything you want to look forward to for week 3?
First, I'll start with week 3. There's a reason why I'm wearing the glasses and hat. You probably heard Deion Sanders respond to Jay Norville's comments. Norville was saying some comments, bulletin board material for Colorado, the game against Colorado State, Colorado. He says, I take off my hat and my glasses when I talk to grown-ups. I take my hat and glasses off. And Deion basically said, you can't tell me what to wear and what not to wear. So that's why I have these on. I just felt like I had to put on that. Because why are you giving Colorado more bulletin board material? I just don't get it. It seems to be every game. Like TCU said something, and then the second opponent for Colorado said something, and now you have Jerry Norville of Colorado State, a nobody, saying, oh, you shouldn't be wearing hats and glasses at a press conference, and then when you talk to people, you have to take them off. So I just found that to be stupid. They're going to get killed, the Rams, by the way. It's going to be like probably 62-7 or 10. That's what I figure with the Colorado and Colorado State. Yeah, I don't really see any other good games, but yeah, I had to wear a hat and glasses because I'm really liking in 2 weeks I won't like Deion because they're going to be playing USC, but I had to respond to Jay Norville and wear my own sunglasses and hat. So yeah, don't poke the bear. And Colorado seems like they're using transfer portal very well this year. So I guess let's go to USC, right? I'll wear that.
Oh, okay.
It's
Nice.
nighttime. But anyway, yeah, USC won. These first 3 games were pretty easy. The first one was San Jose State, and that was a blowout. The defense looked pretty suspect. But then the game I went to, Casey King, shout out to him, they beat Nevada 66-14. The defense looked better. And then they looked outstanding against the Stanford Cardinal. There's like no reason why we shouldn't beat Arizona State the same way in Tempe this Saturday. USC went from 6 to 5 in the national rankings, so that was really good to see. Of course, I always want more, but yeah, on September 30th, Colorado and the Trojans, they're in Boulder. That's going to be an epic matchup. I can't wait for that. I've always liked Deion, but that day I can't like anything about him. But they showed right away that they're a force, and it's going to be fun this year because Colorado is now ranked. It's funny, as the Pac-12 ends their run, they have all these teams ranked. There's, I think, 6 of them now ranked. Colorado, the newest one? You have USC, you have Oregon, Washington. Oregon State is number 16. They play San Diego State this week. So it's funny how all these teams are ranked and they're going to leave and go their separate ways, and they're in the same conference this year. It's kind of sad when you think about it, but it's just the way this business is. So I think USC is going to blow out Arizona State, and then the big test will come next week against the Colorado Buffaloes. I did happen to watch that Texas-Alabama game, and I really liked the fact that they had Pat McAfee and his guys on the sideline. I was watching that telecast over the original one because I like that perspective. I like the kicking game. Pat McAfee, talks about that more than anybody else. But I thought it's just cooler the way that they cover the game, and I was intrigued by it. I didn't expect Texas to win, but maybe just like USC, maybe they're back. Maybe Texas is back this year more than they've been in a while. And maybe Alabama, they're just going to have an off year. It happens. They didn't recruit as well. Other recruits are going to Georgia. They're going to LSU. They're going elsewhere. And Alabama, they're going to have to get used to that with all this conference realignments. That everybody a lot of players, a lot of parents want them to go to the best football schools, and not only SEC is going to be there, but now you have to factor in what the Big 10 is going to be, what the Big 12 is going to be. And that's pretty much it. So it's going to be interesting how this realignment goes as far as it goes to recruits. But I don't have much for week 3 other from I want to see how bad the Buffaloes defeat the Rams in Colorado, and then how bad USC beats Arizona State.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, I think that Deion's going to take that, whatever that Colorado State had, personally, for sure, when it comes to Saturday. All right, guys. Well, that will conclude for tonight's show. Obviously, we got a ton of stuff tonight, baseball and football related as usual. So I appreciate you guys coming on as usual as well. In terms of what's coming up for me specifically, me and Laura plan to have a show for the Patriots post game on Sunday. I think we're going to try to have a show kicking with Kruse either Sunday night or Monday. We'll have to kind of see specifically on that, so keep in tune for that specifically. Obviously looking forward to the games this weekend. Hopefully you guys enjoy those. Saturday for college, NFL for Sunday. And, good show, and, looking forward to what's ahead. So I'll go to Isaiah.
Yeah, great show, guys. Glad that I was able to come on to the program tonight. I know I wasn't able to come on last night because I was just so tired from work. But great show. We talked a lot about the NFL. We talked a lot about college football, which were the big headlines of the sports week. So definitely, that was great to get into. And now we're in the football season. It's definitely the most exciting time of the year. You got college football in action, NFL in action. MLB is winding down. These next 3 weeks are going to be freaking amazing. And then don't forget, fellas, we got NBA training camps starting up in a couple of weeks. So, that's just how fast time flies. And who knows, maybe we'll have a Dame Lillard trade when, training camps open up. So James Harden, exactly. It's just a great time to be a sports fan right now. And also, soon enough, I think Ben's Red Sox started this off today, but we're going to have a lot of firings in baseball, managers, GMs, you name it. James, I see you waving your hand with the
Phil Nevin.
Nevin's probably gone. Manazin's probably gone. You just better hope that Chaim Bloom is not your next president of baseball, because that penny pinching is going to be tight. But if one more final thought is, now that Bloom's gone in Boston, if I'm San Francisco, and there's been rumors that Farhan Zaidi and Gabe Kapler might not be back, if I'm San Francisco, I would take a look at Bloom, because he was one of their finalists, and I think he'd do better in San Fran in a smaller market, not so much pressure. I think he would do better there than he would have in Boston. So if I'm San Fran, I would think about moving on from Zaidi and Kapler and hiring Bloom, because I think Bloom, he's got a bright future ahead of him wherever he does land.
And any final thoughts that you need with our show tonight?
Hey, thank you for having me on. I've been wanting to talk a lot about relevant sports and relevant topics. This is the only show I can really find of that, so I'm very happy to do that. So I love talking about the games more than opinions. So this has been awesome. Thank you for having me on.
Of course, not a problem. We'll plan to have more next week. So without further ado, guys, Isaiah Leon, James Gonzalez. This has been Kruse. Thank you guys, as always, for joining Kicking with Kruse. Hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend. Keep in tune in terms of what shows we'll have for the remainder of the week. Make sure to like, subscribe, all of our stuff on IM6, MI6 Network. And without further ado, guys, we'll go to the intro from the beginning to conclude tonight's program. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you guys next time.
Oh my God! Take a goal to go from the two. Toss kick one for James White. Cuts it under the right arm. Cuts it upfield. Driving forward. Diving to the goal line. A touchdown and a title for the Patriots. I can't believe it. Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. 45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Poppy.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
Anything's possible.
All right, see you, James.
I